Yeah, you probably,
Could we please call the meeting to order? Please rise so we can say the prayer. Dear God, today as this session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for the direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. Could we please salute the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Counsel Belanger.
here.
Mayor Elliott.
Here.
Counsel Kennedy.
Here.
Counsel Leahy.
Here.
Counsel Martin.
Here.
Counsel Mercia.
Here.
Counsel Milanazzo.
Here.
Counsel Rourke. Here. Counsel Samaras.
Here.
That's 9 present.
9 present. The chair would like to recognize Councilor Rita Mercia for a moment of silence. Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to offer a moment of silence in darkened chamber for Thomas F. McKay, beloved husband of Lorraine Laurie McKay, with whom he celebrated 44 years of marriage. Thomas was a graduate of the Immaculate Conception Grammar School, Lowell High School, and attended Mount Wachusett Community College. Tom served for 6 years in the United States Army Reserve. Tom was the former proprietor of Heinz Tavern in Lowell. While at Heinz's, Tom initiated the Irish Feeder running road race, one of the longest consecutively run road races in the city. In 1989, Tom became the general manager of the Lowell Memorial Auditorium. 6 years later, he formed Mill City Management, Inc., and continued with his partners. They were known as the Three Amigos, to manage the auditorium as president and CEO until his retirement in June of last year. Tom was a corporate trustee and member of the executive board of the Lowell 5, trustee and member of the executive board of Lowell General Hospital. He was also a former member of the Lowell Plan Executive Committee, a former chairman of the Lowell Board of Appeals, and director of the Merrimack Valley Convention and Visitors Bureau Board, and member of the Lowell Chamber of Commerce. Tom was a parishioner of the Immaculate Conception Church in Lowell, a member of the Parish Golf Committee, St. Vincent de Paul, and past recipient of the Immaculate Conception School Distinguished Graduate Award. Tom served on many charitable golf committees, including Steve Ronan Jimmy Fund, the Greater Lowell Boy Scouts Golf Committee, and was a former member of Vesper Country Club. Throughout his professional career, Tom received countless awards and was recognized for the many acts of charity and goodwill he carried out. He was the Grand Marshal of the City of Lights Parade, recognized as the Man of the Year by both Keith Catholic and the Boy Scouts of America, as well as receiving the Bishop McNamara Award for Community Service and the Tom McKay Tourism Award. And that is only a few of his great accomplishments and awards. Tom was a great ambassador for the city of Lowell. Although Tom had a very busy professional life, he was through and through a great family man. He loved his family. Tom is survived by his lovely wife, Laurie, and his 2 daughters, Jennifer and Meredith, and his 3 grandchildren, Madison and Mia, and his first grandson, James Thomas. We will always remember his smile, his generous good deeds, his dignity, and above all, his love for his family and this city. He was the best. He was everybody's friend. I'm honored to say he was mine. We offer our sincere condolences to his family, relatives, and many friends. He will be truly missed. We also offer our utmost sympathy to the families of all those who have passed away since our last meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Mercia. Council Milonazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council Mercia did put it best. The passing of Tom McKay is really almost a punch in the stomach to this community, in my opinion. What I would like to suggest to this council that we request the mayor's office to send a letter to the management company at the Lowell Memorial Auditorium and ask them to dim the lights. I would suggest that they do it at the Middlesex Community College Celebrity Series, since Tommy was the voice behind the curtain all those years. But I think that it's appropriate to dim the lights in honor of Tommy McKay at a special event at the auditorium. Thank you.
I agree, Councilor. Councilor Leahy.
Thank you. I just wanted to echo the same sentiments that Tom McKay was always a good friend to the city, and while I served on the school committee, always generous, never said no, always contributing to the schools. So,
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Samaras.
No, I would just like to add, as the former headmaster of Lowell High School, what people fail to realize, how many things, I think a lot of people have acknowledged that Tom did a lot of things for the community, but I could depend on him for individual needs of students. There were times when I had students who were very poor, who could not attend certain type of trips, educational forums, or things that would be helpful to them. Tom always supplied the money. There were several students that came to me that had to drop out of college because they didn't have the monies or the funds and what have you. I'd go to Tom. Tom would come up with the funds to help these students. We had various type of programs that we tried at the high school. You could always depend on Tom to come up with the funds for that. As a matter of fact, when we used the auditorium for the proms, the first time we did that, many of the students said, we don't want to stay in Lowell, we don't want to use the auditorium, we want to go to a big hotel in Boston. Because of Tom's help and the way he had his people work, right after that, every prom has since then been held at the auditorium and held as a great event for students who graduate from Lowell High School. So I just want the people to know that there are a lot of little things that Tom did that many people just do not know that how far he truly reached out. And he did reach out to Lowell High School and its students. Should be known. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Mayor's office will send that letter tomorrow, Council Milonazo, and I couldn't agree more, Council Mercia, with your sentiments, and I'm sure all of my colleagues agree. There were countless acts of charity and kindness that we will never ever know, but he and the three amigos were wonderful to this city, and he is going to be sorely missed. So I just wanted to offer my condolences as well. Could we please rise for Docking Chambers? May you rest in peace. First item on the agenda, under Mayor's business, would Stephen Paris and Matthew Sheehan please come to the podium? On behalf of the city, Mr. Paris and Mr. Sheehan, we would like to offer you each a citation. You're both 9/11 dispatchers working for the city of Lowell, who assisted residents on Cabot Street on December 13th, 2013. You helped them out of a burning building, while you were off duty. To Matthew Sheehan, a citation, be it hereby known to all that the city of Lowell in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts hereby offers its sincere congratulations to Matthew Sheehan for going above and beyond the call of duty on Thursday, December 12th, 2013. While driving home after you finished your shift as a 911 dispatcher for the city of Lowell, you saw smoke. You entered the building at 113 Cabot Street, asking all the residents to head outside. Risking your own safety, you carried an elderly woman, her beloved dog, out of the building. Now, therefore, I, Rodney M. Elliott, Mayor of the City of Lowell, hereby offer, on behalf of all of my colleagues here in government and the people in the City of Lowell, offer you all the best to you as a champion of the people for a heroic task that you performed for the good of our city, given to me on this 11th day of February 2014. Again, on behalf of my colleagues and myself, congratulations and thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Paris, a citation to you as well. Be it hereby known to all that the City of Lowell and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts hereby offers its sincere congratulations to you, Stephen Paris, for going above and beyond the call of duty on Thursday, December 12th, 2013. You also, while driving home after finishing your shift as a 911 dispatcher for the City of Lowell. You, along with Mr. Sheehan, saw smoke. You entered the building at 113 Cabot Street, also asking all the residents to head outside, risking your own safety. You assisted the elderly woman out of the building. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Rodney M. Elliott, hereby offer all the best to you, again, on behalf of all my colleagues in city government and on the city council. We wish the best to you as a champion of the people for the heroic task you performed for the good of the city, given on this 11th day of February 2014 by myself and my colleagues in government. Congratulations and thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Sheehan.
Mr. Mayor, City Councilors, thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. Thank you for the citation. And, Stephen and I are both glad everything worked out. It was the right place at the right time. And again, thank you. Thank you very much to all of you. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you also. This is pretty much a highlight of my career since I've been in the City of Lowell, and I appreciate the recognition. Thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. The next order of business under the Mayor's business section of the agenda, with Dominique Rivera. Is Dominique here? She's not. She's not. Is Noelia Aquino here? Yes. Noelia, please come up. Noelia. On behalf of the City of Lowell, we'd like to offer you a citation for when you were a lifeguard and the lives that you saved last summer. Be it hereby known to all that the City of Lowell and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts hereby offers its sincere congratulations to Noelia Aquino, for rising to the occasion during an emergency on Thursday, July 4th, 2013, while working as a lifeguard at the Raymond Lord Memorial Pool on North Common. You assisted your fellow lifeguard in pulling the motionless body of a 5-year-old boy out of the pool. With the assistance of a nearby nurse, you performed CPR and you saved that boy's life. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Rodney M. Elliott, on behalf of the City of Lowell and my colleagues in government, hereby offer all the best to you as a champion of the people for the task that you performed for the good of the city. Given by me on this 11th day on behalf of my colleagues in government, February 2014. Congratulations, and thank you on behalf of the city.
Sorry,
You must be Dominique.
I am.
Okay.
Well, hi, I want to say thank you. I wouldn't have gotten this award without Joe. He also helped me, so I want to thank you to him. He's not here tonight, but I wouldn't be here because he was the one who pulled the kid out, and I helped with CPR, but thank you very much. The training kicked in. I got trained from the YMCA, and it's amazing. I've been training I've been a lifeguard for 4 years now, and my first save, very overwhelming, but I did my job, and training kicked in very well. Thank you.
Outstanding. This is a citation to you, Dominique. Be it hereby known to all that the City of Lowell and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts hereby offers its sincere congratulations to you, Dominique Rivera, for rising to the occasion on an emergency in May 2013 while working as the head lifeguard at the Walden Pond in Concord. Your quick response for calls for help to assist with the non-responsive infant with the assistance of a nearby nurse, you performed CPR and saved the infant's life. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Rodney M. Elliott, hereby offer all the best to you as a champion of the people for the heroic task that you performed, given on this 11th day, February 2014. On behalf of myself and my colleagues in government, congratulations. On behalf of the City of Lowell, we thank you.
Well, thank you all for being here and for honoring us both. It's really a big honor. I just wanted to say thank you to the city itself for offering the free lifeguarding course. That's how I got started as a lifeguard when I was 15 years old, and I've been a lifeguard for 8 years now, and it changed my life. I would not be in the place that I am right now if it weren't for that opportunity that the city gave me. So thank you to everybody here, and thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rivera. Moving on to the city clerk portion of the agenda. Minutes of the city council meeting February 4th and special meeting February 3rd for acceptance. Motion by Council Belanger, seconded by Council Kennedy. Motion to place on file. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed? Motion carries. Council Kennedy?
I would move that we suspend the rules in order to take the Bagshaw Mills matter out of order, Mr. Mayor, if that would, unless there's an objection.
Motion by Council Kennedy, second by Council Belanger, to take the Bagshaw Mills out of order. Item 5.1 on the agenda. I'm sorry, 5.1 B, under the city manager's portion of the agenda. Councilor?
Mr. Mayor, I believe there's
Council
3
Kennedy?
speakers registered.
Yep.
There is not mistaken.
Attorney Mark Regan.
This is on the communications by the city manager members.
Good evening, Mayor Elliott, distinguished members of the City Council, City Manager Lynch. My name is Mark Regan. I live at 128 Warren Street in downtown Lowell with my wife Rhonda at Bagshaw Mills. Bagshaw Mills was the first condominium community built in the city. It is comprised of 24 residences, 19 of which are owner-occupied at a 79% owner-occupied rate, which is pretty good for downtown Lowell. It also has 3 office suites, commercial office suites, and of course, it's the home to the Merrimack Repertory Theater. The MRT owns and occupies about 27% of the building. The property is bounded by the southeasterly bank of the Concord River. It was built in 1983, and my wife and I moved in October of '83. We've lived there for a little over 30 years. Next door to 128 Warren Street is 126 Warren Street, which is a city-owned parcel upon which is situated a wastewater facility building known as the Warren Street Siphon. I have no idea what that is. I have no idea what it does, but I know that it's been there since 1984 when it was built along with the Lowell Locks Garage and the Sheraton Hotel, now the Lowell ICC. As long as I've lived at Bagshaw Mills, the property at 126 Warren Street has been used for nothing but the siphon building, no other municipal use whatsoever. To give you an idea, I've given each of you a folder with some photos in it. If I could just take a couple of minutes to give you an idea what the neighborhood is like. Photo 1 is the walkway to our main entrance. That's a usual photo for us. My wife takes care of the flowers and does a wonderful job. Number 2 shows the driveway, or the roadway, which leads from Warren Street down to the siphon, the wastewater building located at 126 Warren. Here's another view of that. Photo 3 is from our main entrance. The reason why my wife took this photo, you'll see somewhat in the center of the photo where the grass has been downtrodden. The area at the foot of this roadway, adjacent to the siphon building, is a popular hangout. Lots of folks get down there all year round, all day long, in spite of many police visits. It's a site of, we've unfortunately had a couple of drug overdoses there over the years, and this summer, a gentleman who was apparently, reportedly intoxicated, fell into the river while drinking down there and drowned. It's a tough spot. That's why that picture was taken. And this picture, by the way, was provided to, my wife went up to DPW on Middlesex Street and gave him a bunch of photos, said, you guys got to do something about this. I think in retrospect, she may have introduced DPW to 126 Warren Street. The next photo, number 4, that's our backyard. As you can see, it is adjacent to the Concord River. In fact, just outside of that photo is the last set of rapids which whitewater rafters face each spring. It's a beautiful sight. The next photo, number 5, is a typical Saturday afternoon at Bagshaw Mills in our backyard. And in fact, I'm surprised to see Talina is here with her grandparents. Number 6 is the view of 126 from our backyard. The prints are somewhat light, but in somewhat center is a gray block. That is the siphon building. I'd also point out that all of this material here has been cut down. It no longer exists for 2 reasons. One, the wastewater utility put in a new ventilation system. It needed more air, so the city cut that down, and at the same time, they basically took out a place where a lot of folks spent evenings, much to our chagrin. Now, the folks at Bagshaw Mills had no idea that the that the DPW had any intention of using 126 Warren Street for any other purpose until January 27th of this year. It was not because of any notice we received from any agency or anything we read in the paper. It was suddenly 7 dumpsters were delivered to the site with no notice to us and no explanation whatsoever what was going on. Photo 7 shows the site on the afternoon of January 27th from the top of our main entrance. You can see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 dumpsters in this photo. For 30 years, there's been one, the little one in the kitty corner, which is the garage's own dumpster, and we had these dumpsters there. To give you an idea how close they were to the building is photo number 8. That is the back, the side, and the main entrance to Bagshaw Mills. Now, needless to say, these 7 dumpsters caused us some concern. It prompted a series of phone calls to various offices in the city. As I say, we had no idea what was going on, why they were there, for how long. We had no idea whatsoever. My phone calls were mostly treated professionally with a lot of respect, and I learned some things. I learned, number one, that the DPW intended to have some sort of a trash or waste collection facility at 126 Warren. I learned that the DPW had requested DPD to give them a list of sites for such a facility. In fact, number 9 is a communique from the recycling coordinator of DPW to DPD showing what DPW had in mind for 126 Warren Street. You'll see later on that that is uncannily similar to what in fact happened. Our phone calls, as I say, were mostly returned. We kind of got the message back that the decision really had not been made in spite of the sudden appearance of all these dumpsters, that the Warren Street site was going to be rethought, and that the process was not really over. Not being invited to participate in the process or to otherwise express our opinions and our thoughts about this, we had no choice but to sit back and see what happened. In the meantime, on Wednesday and Thursday of that week, the dumpsters got somewhat rearranged and put in different positions. Number 10 shows 2 open-top dumpsters. You can see that's our building right across the street there, the little drive. And number 11 shows where 5 other dumpsters were placed along the Concord River. Again, I refer to 9, and you can see that, boy, oh boy, this sure looks like that's just what they had in mind when they sent those photos over to DPD. Number 12 shows how close they are really to the Concord River. That's right where they whitewater raft. Number 13 shows the view from the other side of the Concord River from the walkway which Parks and Conservation Trust recently spearheaded and which opened within the last year or so. You'll see that on the left-hand side is Bagshaw Mills, been there since 1983. On the right-hand side is the garage, been there since 1984. And the middle area is where the city wants to put this recycling facility and a facility known as an RRC, a Resource Recovery Center. You can see the 3 dumpsters that are shown in photo 12 situated right there. That area is going to fill up pretty quickly. 14 also shows the dumpsters as they were positioned along the river and in close proximity to Bagshaw Mills. That's the entire back of Bagshaw Mills. Everybody lives there, can look out and see what's exactly going on at 126 Warren Street. By the way, the larger windows on the second floor, those are the residential studio facilities for the artists from the MRT. When they come to town to perform, that's where they stay as well. It's a very nice situation. Now, so we were sitting and we were waiting to see what happened, and then came yesterday morning's Lowell Sun. And in the Lowell Sun yesterday was a story which I think, or an article which I think clearly indicates what the city's intentions are here. In fact, the recycling coordinator is quoted in that article. He has some things to say about it being an ideal site for recycling, a wonderful opportunity for the city of Lowell. He thinks that there's going to be a very big demand for the containers that are going to be down there. He also says there is a strong likelihood that this site would in fact be used as an RRC for the collection of appliances, tires, electronics, including old TVs, beds, mattresses, and springs, propane tanks, and so on, and so on, and so on. And that's why we're here. Some more phone calls were made. One phone call I made to the health department was the first indication that there was anything whatsoever on tonight's city council agenda. I had no idea, no one told me, except the health department. I think that if we're going to, by the way, yesterday and today, all of these dumpsters disappeared. They're all gone. There was a humongous front-end loader down there this morning, which moved an amount of snow that in 30 years I've never seen moved before, and that was to facilitate the movement of one last dumpster into the far corner of the retaining wall. That's shown in picture 15. By the way, the retaining wall, some of our neighbors, and I have about 12 or 15 of our residents here tonight with us, not bad on short notice. We found out about this meeting yesterday. A lot of folks have pointed out to me something I would be unaware of, but have lived in communities that have recycling facilities and so forth. Once folks know there's a recycling facility there, they don't care if it's open or not. Things are going to be going over that wall so fast. TVs are going to be over that wall. Old computers are going to be over that wall. Even that, if just that bin alone is left overnight, unattended, that trash will be everywhere. And I want to point out, I pick up the trash down there. I do it once a week. I've done it for the last 15 years because it really is a mess, just from their one little dumpster and the activity that goes on down there. One dumpster is one too many as far as we're concerned. Which kind of brings us to the question, what do we do? I suppose the first question is, does the city need another recycling facility, particularly in downtown? Now, to be clear, we at Bagshaw Mills know that recycling is good. It's the right thing to do. And that's why we recycle at our own expense and no cost to the city. We have our own service. We have 2 dumpsters, one for general trash, one for single stream recycling. They empty twice a week, no issues, no overflow. It's worked perfectly. We are in favor of recycling. We've been told that we need something like this in downtown because the condos in downtown don't recycle. We have friends at the old McCartan building, they recycle. Ale Loft, they recycle. Again, without any city involvement or cost. Trio, a new building beside the old police station on Market Street, recycle. The old commercial bank and trust at the corner of Prescott and Central and Market, they recycle at their own cost. The Claflin building, the old Lowell and Hartford building, they recycle at their own cost. The Fairburn building in County Square, they recycle at their own cost. We're not really sure. We've been told by residents of Canal Place 1, 2, and 3 that they recycle as well. Every floor has a recycling bin. Now, I sense from some conversations that while the tenants or the residents might be putting in the recycling containers, maybe it ain't getting recycled. I'm not sure. But we don't see a real need for something downtown, but that's not our job to decide. If the city needs a new recycling situation, a new recycling place, a new recycling facility, can the city put it wherever it wants to? Now, I had some very spirited discussions with someone I respect quite a bit who works for the city, Eric Slagle, and we discussed the zoning ordinance. There's a specific prohibition against recycling facilities, which somehow excludes solid waste transfer stations, which later on is not defined in anywhere in the code, nor is it addressed anywhere in the code. He cited a particular permission granted by the code that the city can basically do what it wants to do, in a nutshell. I'm not so sure. I think that if they want to go forward with this, there's more than just the city involved. DEP is going to be involved, absolutely. I think that the health board is going to have to be involved. The Conservation Commission will have a say as well. Surprisingly, the historic board doesn't. Even though we're right in downtown Lowell, I've been told they really don't have a say. And I think that FEMA might be involved because that piece of property is right smack dab in the new FEMA flood maps. So whether the city can do it or not, I think is a question that's going to cost the city a lot of money as far as permitting, cost the city a lot of time in finding out, and I think somewhere someone's going to say, you just can't do this on the banks of the Concord River. If, in fact, someone doesn't say that, then the next question is, should it be at 126 Warren Street? I think that Bagshaw Mills is a beautiful piece of property. It's a very successful piece of property. We've had people who bought just the last 2 weeks, and now they're facing this. Something out of the blue, something that we think is really an encroachment on our quiet enjoyment of property, an encroachment on the investments we've made on our real estate, when there are plenty of other places. One thing I did learn on the 27th was when DPW submitted these, I guess you'd say criteria.
Mr. Regan?
Yes.
We have some other speakers that are registered.
I'll wrap it up in 2 seconds.
Okay.
Okay. DPD, Division of Planning and Development, promulgated a list of sites for this facility. Warren Street wasn't on it. I think that if you look at the last pictures that I have, the DPW facility on Middlesex Street would be perfect for it. There are plenty of sites. If they need a dumpster downtown for 6 hours every other Saturday, have someone come in, drop it, people drop off their stuff, pick it up, and get it out. I think there's got to be plenty of places other than Bagshaw Mills for this facility. Thank you very much for your time and understanding.
Thank you, Mr. Regan. And just remind speakers, we do have a 5-minute rule because we want to give everyone a chance to speak. Mr. Clerk?
John Brettwaite.
Hi, John Braithwaite, 128 Warren Street in Lowell. I came to the city 25 years ago. I wasn't intending to stay, but I'm still here. I really love the city. I just have a couple of things to add to Mark's comments. What we're really talking here is a dump. And there's one thing that comes with dumps, and it's rats. And we know what rats will do in the summer, but in the winter, they will seek warmth. And the nearest place of warmth will be Bagshaw Mills. So, also another thing is that access driveway. I'm not sure if you can have two trucks, pickup trucks, be able to pass each other going, the opposite way. So it's gonna create traffic nightmares. And it's bad enough at night during rush hour. The traffic sometimes back all the way up from Church Street, all the way back to the garage. So traffic will be particularly a problem. And one other thing, I would like to know who is really asking for this. As Mark had pointed out, most of the condos are already recycling. So who really is asking this? Supposedly there's a lot of demand. I would like to know who these people are, not necessarily by name, but by business or wherever. And that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Peter DeLuca.
Thank you, Mayor and the council, for letting me speak. My name is Peter DeLuca. I live at 128 Warren Street at Bagshaw Mills. I've been residing there with my wife for the last 10 years or so. We moved down here from Alaska. Spent 35 years up there. And it's been a great place to live. People are friendly. It's quiet there. It's a nice part of the neighborhood, right on the outskirts of downtown. Over the years, about 5 years ago, there's been some issues over there with various things. One thing I noticed was that at one point the city was dumping paint on the pavement down there, real close to the river, right around the pump station down there. And what the paint was from when they were doing the streets, doing the stripes and the white lines, the yellow lines, whatever was in excess that was left over, they would send the trucks down there and they would just squirt it out and make lines down there. And it was just all yellow, white, and what have you. And it was starting to begin to be a pretty big eyesore, especially for my apartment. I have a corner unit that overlooks the Concord River, and from my bedroom window and my living room window, it overlooks that whole area down there that's in question. So I made a phone call to the Lowell environmentalist and spoke with her about it, and she wasn't aware that they were doing that. And she put a stop to it, and that was great. And now over the years, it's taken a few years, but it's all kind of faded out, and there's a little bit left down there, but over time it's going to disappear. Another issue that's been happening down there, or did happen down there, was we had quite a bit of forest overburden down there around the pump station. You couldn't even see the fence that was protecting the pump station down there to keep people out and what have you, because it was so thick. And people are starting to camp out down there. And you couldn't really see them in there because it was so thick and the leaves were green and fall. And but they were there. It was pretty noticeable. And so in the fall, when it started getting cold, they would start to move out and seek other places to live. And before the snow would fall, Mark would get a committee, and we'd all go down there and pick up the trash that they left behind and pick up any debris, clothes, syringes, found a lot of syringes down there. And so it's just been quite a few issues down there. And so the city came in when they cleaned up I think they installed some new pumps at that pump station. They did some rework down there. And they cleared out all those trees and shrubbery, and it was like a jungle down there. And they cleaned it all out, and we said, all right, great, And it's been great. Nobody's been, setting up camp down there since they've done that. So we thought maybe some good things were gonna happen down there. And here recently, like Mark, said, I was sleeping, and it was on my day off. And about 9 o'clock in the morning, boom, boom. And I look out my bedroom window, looking straight down, and they're dumping off these 30-foot dumpsters down there. And so, the question came up, and Mark was already on the scene with his camera. And so we spoke about it and determined that, you know, something wasn't right here. So after a little bit further investigation, we found out that you know, the city was going to put a recycling station down there. Now, I can tell you, if that goes in, there's going to be a lot of problems down there. And that includes when it's windy out, it creates a vortex down there because it sits in a hole. You've got the parking garage up on the left, and you've got our building up on the right, and it's just a swirl down there. You can see it when the wind's blowing. You can see sand going up in the air. And I'm looking down at this from my window, so I know what goes on when the wind blows. So if we have some open dumpsters down there, and even the closed ones, because they're going to be opened up by people that, just the other day I seen a guy down there with a carriage going through the dumpsters down there, even though they were empty. He was getting ready. He was filling up, you know, wanting to fill up his carriage with you know, bottles and recyclables or whatever he could sell. And that's what's going to happen. Those things are going to be opened up, and when the wind blows, things are going to fly, and it's going to go right in the river. And that's, you know, environmentally, it's not good. We've got people down there in the summertime that pay money to come down there and do whitewater rafting, and that's the first thing they're going to see is stuff floating in the lower locks downtown, and it's all going to be coming from those dumpsters.
Okay.
And another thing is, you know, I have my granddaughter over in the summertime, and we have a pool set up. You know, she swims and everything, and I can just, you know, it's just going to be a big eyesore, you know, for all of us. And I just don't, I think it's going to be a hardship for us. Not to mention that our property values will probably go down in value because people are going to see the first thing a realtor brings them over there, they're going to see all these dumpsters everywhere, and more than likely it's going to look like a trash pit down there. I was just over at the water department the other day to drop off a box spring, and they directed me and told me, hey, you know, we're not accepting recyclables here at this station anymore. And so I drove back behind the building there to turn around, and it was embarrassing. There was mattresses on the ground, not even in dumpsters. There was box springs. There was mud turned up, and it was disgusting. And I just don't want to see that happen over there where we're at. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. DeLuca. Mr. Clerk.
Stephen Green.
Mr. Mayor, City Council members, I'm Stephen Green. I reside at 181 Market Street, and I also am on the city's Solid Waste and Recycling Advisory Committee. I just want to remind people that the location is one issue, and I'm sure we can come up with a sensible and a good solution to this. But I don't want us to forget the fact that the whole intent of this exercise was to put in place a recycling center, an opportunity for twice a month for people to drop materials off that can be recycled. And we have 13,000 households in the city that are not serviced by the city's recycling activities that are currently part of the municipal program. The drop-off location and the management of it is something that was negotiated in the solid waste contract that we now have with Waste Management. If you remember, we went from regular trash collection more than 5 years ago to the containerized system. That saved the city approximately $1 million a year. The next set of contract work looks like it will save another $1 million per year, $2 million per year savings. It's helping us to move more and more material into recycling, into conserving and saving those resources. So I just don't want us to forget that in the flurry of activity. I have a sense, and I can read the politics, that this location is probably not going to work. The reason for a downtown location that was looked for is that because there are a lot of people downtown that aren't served. I can tell you, I live at Market Gallery. I was one of the people involved in making sure that Market Gallery, Air Lofts, and the dentist office, Dr. Pappy, next door, have a cooperative program. and we actually save money. Costs us a little bit in the beginning, but we actually save money through recycling. And I hope that with everybody from Bagshaw, the city council, all the city staff members can work together and we can come up with a solution that does provide a convenient location for doing this additional amount of diversion. It'll save the city money. It will save the residents, the people, and the 13,000 residents subsidize the people in the municipal program that get the service. So, yes, there are recycling programs downtown, but I also think that those programs are just primarily focused on single stream type materials, but that with working together, we can come up with a workable solution for this. So thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Green.
Last speaker. Stephen Conant.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Stephen Conant. I reside at 34 Beresford Avenue. Members of the City Council, thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm here speaking on behalf of the Lowell Parks and Conservation Trust. We're a nonprofit land trust. We've been in the city for 20 years. We are the folks who sponsor the whitewater rafting trips that go down the Concord River every year. And the third rapid, which we call Middlesex Dam with an N at the end of it, is right adjacent to where the facility is. I'm here tonight because we've received a number of calls from our members. We have over 1,000 members, and we've received a lot of calls from people who are concerned about the location. For myself, it's a bit of a flashback. When we started, we weren't more than 5 years old, and one of the issues that we had was that, if you remember, Sheehy Park up by the south campus of the university was used as a parking lot. It was filled with cars. If you go out there today, it's one of the prettiest parks in the city. One of the things that we do at the Land Trust is we try to remind people that the rivers and the riverbanks are not our back door, they're our front door. The thousands and thousands of people that we've taken through the city of Lowell who have come here, many for the first time from around the world and from out the city, from out New England, have come to whitewater raft, and this is what they see. And in the springtime, there's not a lot of leaves on the trees, so you can see a lot of the trash, and it could look better. We do cleanups when we can, but a facility like this, again, I think we can do better than that. They found a place to put the cars from Sheehy Park. I think we can do something better than this at this location. So thank you very much for your time and your interest in the subject.
Thank you, Mr. Conant. Are there any other speakers that would like to speak? And then we're going to go to the manager.
Thank you.
Got Councilor Kennedy first. You have a question for the manager?
Sure.
Okay. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let me apologize to the people at Bagshaw Mills. I had a chance to have a long conversation with Mark earlier today, and I spoke with Steve a little bit before the meeting started. The staff was a little enthusiastic about putting this site at this location. This was being talked about as a potential site, but in actuality, no final decisions had been made when I learned that the dumpsters were delivered to the site. And it was never intended to, in my mind, to be a full-scale, all materials type of site. It was going to be simply for, as we were trying to determine whether it would work, it was going to be used for just your ordinary recyclables with the receptacle that's against the wall. And someone made the point that people can just dump things over the wall, and that's a good point. But that was what it was intended to, in my mind, to be considered for. Obviously, the dumpsters have been pulled out. It has not been opened. And it's my intention as manager to send this back to the DPW and the recycling committee to have them take a look at this, because there are concerns at that site. And as I said, it was never intended to have mattresses and appliances and all of the rest that's been talked about, and I was as surprised to read about that as some of the people were. In fact, we had a staff meeting last week where we talked about some other sites in the city that could be utilized for those materials, with some possibility, if we did do anything on Warren, to only do those other recyclable materials. But no final decisions have been made. Nothing's going to happen there, and I'll make sure that any discussions of that come back to the City Council before any final decisions are made.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Kennedy. and then Council Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Merrill. I just really wanted to get from the manager exactly where we stood on this. I know we've had a conversation about this previously, but I think that's good, and I think it's important that the city council be involved. I mean, I can understand that maybe the people who were enthusiastic about this thought that this was down and tucked out of the way and that nobody was going to say anything, but it is next to Bagshaw Mills and it is next to the river, and those are two big things, and those certainly should have been taken into consideration as well. But what is troubling, I think, to me and probably to most members of the city council is that this was kind of being done without anybody signing off on it, and certainly without the city council being aware of what was being done. So that we don't make a second bad mistake, it would be better if the city council was kept informed as the selection process goes forward from here.
Absolutely.
Council Belanger, then Council Mercia.
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. I did receive a number of phone calls as well, like I'm sure Councilor Kennedy has and the rest of my colleagues. But I do have concern, but a few points I'd like to make. One in particular stands out now. As of this January 1st this year, there's been new dumpster regulations in the city where I received lots and lots of phone calls as a councilor-elect. Elliott's Hot Dogs, Cameo Diner, to name a few, were very, very concerned about their dumpsters. They received letters from the city saying it needs to be on a cement pad, screened in, so it's not intrusive. They are very, very concerned. Now, I've worked with these small businesses and inspectional services, and temporary relief has been granted. Most of the businesses had been given variances until we revisit this in the springtime, which is good news, but they're very concerned because that's, a couple $1,000s for a small business. I believe that's an unnecessary financial burden, but that's another matter we will take up in the spring. But to have regulations like that in place, and the city go ahead and place 5, 6 dumpsters on a parcel and not adhere to those regulations, I see inconsistencies, number one. So at the same time, I commend and appreciate what we're trying to accomplish here. Downtown has trouble recycling. I was unaware that all those mills are now recycling. I'm pretty familiar with all of them. I didn't know that. I don't know how they're doing it, but I know and understand that a downtown station like this would be helpful, and to businesses as well. So I'd like to see one. I don't think this is the right place for it. I think there's a need for it. We all need to encourage recycling. It's in all of our best interests. It saves the city money. In turn, it saves the taxpayer money. So we want to encourage it and make it accessible and easy for everybody. So I appreciate what we're trying to accomplish, but I don't think this is the right location, or did we go about it the right way? To place 5 dumpsters abutting a large-scale residential mill, and if you think you're not going to receive input from them, then you're sadly mistaken. So if we had gone about it in a different manner, maybe kept the Bagshaw Mills informed and screened in the dumpsters, and we had a plan, maybe we wouldn't be in this position, who knows? But I don't think this is the right place for it, so I'd like to see it. I'm glad, Mr. Manager, it's going back to the drawing board, so to speak, and I agree with Councilor Kennedy that this council should be kept in tune where this goes. I think, again, downtown needs a small recycling station, nothing to the scale we had on Middlesex Street, which seems to be getting a lot of use. I've called Deputy DPW Commissioner. It's a very active site, and that's great. Recycling is picking up more and more as each year goes. So let's keep it going. But I think downtown is in need, but a much smaller station, and this certainly isn't the location for it. So I look forward to future updates from the manager. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We are, as a council and a city, all aware of the importance of recycling and the goal to save money. No doubt about that. But today, I want to commend the city manager for taking those dumpsters out of there. We all did get numerous calls from the people that are here this evening, some that are home as well. I never saw a campaign such as this. They picked the right speaker in Mr. Reagan. Honest to God, this guy he can speak for me any day. That was amazing. And PowerPoint and all, and the pictures on top of it, and it's smoothly went from one thing to another. Perfect. That was amazing. Perfect example of the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Tonight we got the grease. the dumpsters are gone. I just understand, Mr. Manager, that you gave your word and those dumpsters will not go back there. I think they're here. Too bad they had to come in here out of their way to come in and speak on their own behalf, but I'm sure that we'll comply with their wishes. But this is my point here. Let us not, in our enthusiasm, fail to inform abutters if we have another plan in place. We talk about transparency, but yet we dump the dumpsters and then we send them a letter saying we're gonna do it after the fact. This is not proper business. It's clearly not acceptable to do that. I know that there's 13,000 others that are not serviced to recycle, and we want to offer that to them. I know that we'll probably put another plan in place, and we will notify people as to the intent right there. I'm just proud of everything. I know that in the end, things work out, and so this is what I wanted to say. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Council Mercier. Council Martin? And then Council Samaras.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, I've been involved with the Lowell Parks and Conservation Trust and some of the folks that are trying to use the rivers as the amenities that they really are. And it really is kind of a unique view of the city to be out on the river. I've been on those rafting trips. And you get a whole different perspective, especially, you know, whitewater rafting usually takes place in the north woods of Maine, and to have that experience in a city, in this city, is remarkable. So those are things those experiences are things we should be trying to enhance and, you know, cultivate. And this type of activity on the riverbank really doesn't do that. You know, a garage doesn't do that, quite frankly, either, but that's from another era. I don't know, you know, we should be capitalizing on the resources we have as assets. I was happy to see in some of the pictures the people that live at Bagshaw Mills are doing just that. You know, they're using their limited yard space and their views of the river for the amenities that they are. And those things should be available to more people in the city, not less. And this project doesn't help this, so I'm glad to see that it's going to get a relook. I would just suggest we try and identify where the biggest users we anticipate would be for recycling, and maybe look at locations that might be near. If those are large condo complexes or whatever, we look closer to those places than things that are sort of far away and removed.
Thank you, Council. Councilor Samaras?
Thank you. We all know that recycling is so important. It's important for our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren. And thank Mr. Kennedy for bringing up the point that this has to come before this board, any type of moves like this. But Councilor Martin's also correct. If you look at the dreams of Pat Mogan in the National Park, the first thing that we did when we talked about the National Park were the trips down the Concord River and the beauty, because in many cases we saw the backyards of many families that had gardens, and this is what you expected to see, not dumpsters. But I think what's interesting about tonight is that a group of people who live in a very nice area, who have a concern for the city, came before us, and they have a concern, and rightfully they do have a concern. But there was no yelling or screaming, what are you doing to us? Every one of them spoke of the importance of recycling. Every one of them talked about the importance of what we're doing here. And I want to commend the city manager for recognizing that. But I think we're at this point now where several things have to take place. One, I think all of these issues should become before the city council to give a review of placement. And there is no ideal placement, but I've seen in other states, and done a lot of reading in this area, especially those people who are concerned about the environment, the design of how you do it. Just placing 7 dumpsters or 6, well, it just doesn't do it. It's never going to look good anywhere. But the thing is there a possibility, Mr. Manager, that through DPW that they start looking into redesigning of some place, smaller satellite places that, I mean, you know the drill. I mean, they can look as good as a fine hotel or a restaurant in a sense of you'd never know that there was recycling done behind it. But just to plank dumpsters all around and what have you, doesn't work. But I just want to thank the public for coming forth and talking about the importance of recycling, but at the same time, the value of what the river is all about, what their property is all about, and what we hope the future of Lowell is all about, a livable city. Thank you.
Mr. Manager?
Just to response to Councilor Samaras, I agree completely. And that's, I really want to stress that the gun was jumped here. Considerations like any fencing, design, mitigation really for wherever it was going to be put. This was identified by staff as a good site and unfortunately moved forward without the necessary go-aheads from a higher level and, speaking to abutters, looking at design issues, and letting the council know what was happening with this. So, but clearly, those are the types of things that really need to take place when a site is identified as a possibility.
Council Molinazzo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I could just pick up on one comment that Attorney Mark Regan made about whether or not we could actually explore the possibility of notifying the public that a recycling center will be put in place for a period of, say, 8 to 12 hours on a certain day, and then remove that same day, whether or not that can be included in the discussions going forward. Because I think that does make some sense, and that there are public areas around the city that we could possibly use for that far and not be intrusive on the neighborhood. So if that's something that can be considered, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Further discussion? Motion to accept the report as a report of progress by Council Mercia, seconded by Council Molinazzo. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Let me thank everyone here this evening that came out to support and be part of the governmental process. So thank you for coming out. Being after 7 o'clock, we have public hearings scheduled.
I just
Councilor
had a quick question. I know it's after 7 and we have to do the public, but the manager maybe, did you just have someone to introduce, or was there a presentation?
Short presentations, but I think the public hearings
okay.
will be.
All right, thank you.
Moving into the public hearing section of the agenda. First item is 4-1. It's a miscellaneous. The University of Massachusetts requests storage of 3,200 gallons of diesel fuel, number 2 liquids above ground at 222nd Pawtucket Street. I'd like to begin this portion of the public hearing by opening it up to those wishing to speak in favor. Those wishing to speak in favor, could you please state your name and address?
My name is Rick Wood. I'm the Life Safety Systems Manager for the university, and just here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor?
I'm Lieutenant Steve Mello. I'm the hazmat coordinator for the fire department in Lowell. And so if anybody has any questions.
Okay, could we just ask you, has the fire department rendered their opinion?
I've inspected it. I was up there 2 days ago, and it was installed. It meets all applicable codes, all regulations, and the fire department has no objection to a license being granted for this.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this? In favor? We will close that portion of the hearing. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? In opposition. That portion of the hearing is closed. What is the wish of the body?
Move approval.
Move approval by Councilor Mercia, second by Councilor Rourke. Roll call.
Council Belanger.
Yes.
Mayor Elliott.
Yes.
Council Kennedy.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Martin.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
Council Milanazzo.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Council Samaras.
Yes.
That's 9 yeas.
9 yeas, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is an ordinance to create new position and salary part-time temporary literacy director in the library. Motion to waive the full reading by Councilor Kennedy, second by Councilor Belanger. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Second reading by title. Commonwealth of Massachusetts, City of Lowell Ordinance in City Council an ordinance creating one new part-time temporary position and salary of literacy director at the Pollard Memorial Library. I'd like to open the hearing by those wishing to speak in favor. Those wishing to speak in favor? Those wishing to speak in favor? Hearing none, that portion of the hearing is closed. Those wishing to speak in opposition? Opposition? Seeing none, that portion of the hearing is closed. What is the wish of the body? Motion to approve by Council Leahy, second by Council Samaras. Discussion? Council Kennedy.
Sure. Actually, we have Vicki Woodley, the director, here today to speak to this, but I think we all appreciate the value of literacy, the value of the reading programs that we operate through the library, and the large amount of demand that we have for working with our citizens on this issue. And the library has identified this as a priority and has developed a plan to implement it, but I'll let Ms. Woodley give you some statistics and some explanation.
Cool.
This is on, right? Yeah. Nice to see you this evening. The reason that we would like to create this position is we do have a literacy program and somebody who's running it, but this is not the title that she had. So we thought we'd create this position to have her run it. Originally, this program was part of our community planning department, but then we started losing employees in that department, and we couldn't rehire people due to hiring freeze. And so we just decided we'd create this separately as a program with some part-time individual that was being paid through a grant. And we didn't give her this title before, and that's why I wanted to create it. It's a very viable program. Right now, she gives me monthly reports. She's got 48 tutors, 67 students, and she has a waiting list of 186 people that are interested in the literacy services for English as a second language, and 18 people for the ABE portion. I don't remember what that stands for, but those are people that speak English but don't read it. So she has this very big backlog, and I'm hoping that I give her this position, and perhaps she's even gotten interns from colleges and stuff, but she needs a little more manpower, so I'm thinking of also trying to see if I can get anybody else to help her. But that's the main reason why I wanted to create this position for her.
So,
Council Kennedy?
so you've got a person doing this position, but you don't have the position yet.
I don't have that title, no.
And it's going to be part-time.
It is, yeah.
And the grant pays that person right now?
Yeah, I'm using the grant from Literacy Volunteers of Massachusetts and also some state aid, because she's had to work more hours to try and keep up with this amount of people. All the tutor training and testing of students and everything else. So I'm using a couple grants for it.
Okay. And what is the forecast for the availability of that grant money going forward?
So far, it's been good. I mean, for the Literacy Volunteers of Massachusetts, it went down a little bit, but it's holding steady. Last 3 years, it's been around 13,000. So I don't think it's going to go away. Ever since I have been at the Pollard Library, that grant has come in every year. It has gone a little down when the economy went south, but still there. So.
Okay, and you have to post this position, don't you? Once the position.
Yeah, I do, and I'm sure she's going to apply for it first. But yeah, it has certain requirements, certain educational requirements and certifications for this kind of position. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Further questions? Roll call.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Mayor Elliott.
Yes.
Counsel Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Martin.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
That's 9 yeas.
9 yeas, motion carries. Next item, 64-3, it's another ordinance, public hearing. Amend the position and salary, Director of Elections to Director of Elections Municipal Hearing Officer. Motion to waive the full reading by Council Mercia, seconded by Council Milonazo. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Second reading by title. Commonwealth of Massachusetts, City of Lowell, ordinance in City Council, an ordinance amending the position of Director of Election by adding the title of Municipal Hearing Officer, excuse me, increasing the hours per week duties and establishing the salary in the election department, and by deleting the position of Municipal Hearing Officer / Claims Investigator. I'll now open this portion of the public hearing to those wishing to speak in favor. Those wishing to speak in favor? Mr. Wilson.
Hi, I'm Jeff Wilson, 67 Hank Street. Just wanted to go on record in support of this ordinance. I would just like to say that the young lady who presently has this position as an acting position is very enthusiastic, does her job quite efficiently. As many people may know, that she's made some significant changes in the office. It's a very welcoming place now. It's a pleasure to go down there, and I believe that she is also already performing some of the responsibilities on this position, and it seems to be working out quite well, in my opinion. So I just wanted to go on record in support of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Anyone else wishing to speak in favor?
One moment, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, okay.
Jerry Nutter, 9 Whitney Ave.
Mr. Mayor, City Councilors, good evening. My name is Patrick McCartan. I live at 52 Havilah Street in Lowell, and I'm one of your election commissioners. I'm here tonight to speak for all 4 election commissioners in support of the change of the ordinance to combine the 2 positions and to adjust the salary to those things. I sat and I thought about this a lot, and I wrote down qualities and what would we like to have in a person who fills this position. And Etta Matchuk is in there now, and she meets all these. She's intelligent, resourceful, creative, honest, hardworking, dedicated, fearless because she deals with you people. She's very detail-oriented and has a can-do attitude. She's personable. She gets things done. And we can now walk around the office down there without it looking like a storage room. I'd like to say that she is a good manager of money, time, resources, and personnel, and she should be the person that fills that position. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? In favor? Seeing none, that portion of the hearing is closed. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? In opposition? In opposition? Seeing none, that portion of the hearing is closed. What is the wish of the body? Councilor Kennedy?
I move approval, but I'd also like to, I have a couple of questions for the manager. But if the motion to approve gets seconded, then I'd like to speak on the motion.
Motion to approve by Councilor Kennedy, seconded by Councilor Mercia. Councilor Kennedy on the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the manager. Mr. Manager, I guess the rationale for doing this, number one, is that it combines 2 positions into one, and therefore it's a savings.
Correct.
And the election commission position is considered to be sort of seasonal?
Well, if I may,
Manager?
maybe go back to your prior question. I think that particularly given, and I happened to be at a meeting in Boston today where talking about a number of different issues, and one of the issues was that some of the legislation that's currently on Beacon Hill, and one of the areas that it appears very clear that there's changes happening is in the administration of elections. We're actually ahead of the curve here in the city on a number of different fronts that we've embarked upon over the last 2 years with improved training and improved procedures. These are all going to be mandated actually by the state under the new legislation that's being considered. And it looks like it's moving forward very quickly. What's become clear to us in the administration of the elections, in the administration of the elections office, is that the job of running the office and running the elections with the election commission has become far more complex and far more involved. It probably was far more complex and far more involved than the city was really treating it to start with, but certainly with the changes that are on their way, it's going to become even more so. So we need to have a person that has the proper skills, the proper experience, the proper background, that's a little bit more of a professional position than necessarily the city's had in the past. We were very fortunate to be able to have Joe Kaplan work with us for a while, who had quite a bit of experience, and I know, Councilor, you're familiar with Joe. So that's very clear. However, along the lines of your second question, it is a more seasonal position. It's constantly being utilized, but certainly during the times of elections, it becomes far more intense. The weeks leading up to the election, the couple weeks after, that includes primaries as well as general elections. The census is another area that the city really needs to do things differently, and we've made some important strides there. But it isn't a position that is constantly focused on elections and the census year-round. So combining it with this other position gives us the chance, which is also a professional-type position, gives us the chance to have someone that can function both of those and be able to apportion their time based upon the needs at the particular point in time.
So these are two positions that were both full-time positions that are now being combined, and I can understand that the election commission is a seasonal position, for lack of a better term. What are the demands in terms of time on the hearing officer position?
The hearing officer position is one that expanded out a little bit, and now it will be pulled back. The hearing officer position really only requires 2 to 3 days a week. Now, if there's a backlog, the person will be here and be able to handle that. Obviously, if it's in the middle of an election, that will have to be put on the back burner, but when it's not an election season, they'll be able to do, if there's a backlog, they can do 3 or 4 days of hearings a week. But it had grown beyond hearings to also engage in some other investigatory work with the law department, administering some of our claims against the city. That has been pulled back into the law department now that the backlog there has been caught up. And so this is the time that we feel that we can have this position that does hearing officer and elections, and those, each one will have a need of 2 to 3 days a week on average, sometimes more for elections, sometimes more for hearings, but the hearings can be more flexible.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Council. Councilor Mercia?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager. Mr. Manager, when we're talking about hearings, what does this entail, hearings? Hearings for what?
Parking hearings, dog hearings, certain code hearings, anything that comes through the non-criminal disposition process is all handled by rather than forcing people to go into the courts for the non-criminal disposition, it can be handled here. Obviously, parking is handled here, where it used to be handled by the people who are actually collecting the money, which isn't the proper way to do it. You should have a separate person away from the people who are actually collecting the money that's holding those hearings.
Parking tickets?
Parking tickets, yes.
Claims? What are claims?
Well, the claims that some work was done, and this position no longer will be involved with that, are insurance claims, workers' compensation claims, where we need to do some investigatory work to determine
This is,
what
this
the
is a lot of work
substantiation of the
for
claim.
one person.
Well, the claims won't be done by this person anymore. It's just the hearings for parking, dogs, non-criminal disposition fines, and running the elections.
And where do they settle this? Where is this held, the claims?
The claims are,
I mean,
not
the
the
hear-
claims, the
I mean,
hearings?
I mean the hearings.
Right over there at that table.
Right in here?
Right.
Oh, all right, just curious, that's all, thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion on this item? Roll call.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Mayor Elliott.
Yes.
Counsel Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Martin.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
That's 9 yeas.
9 yeas, motion carries. If there's no opposition, I'd like to entertain a motion to take item 5-1A under city manager's portion of the government, of the agenda. Motion by Council Mercia, seconded by Councilor Samaras, to suspend the rules to take this item up under suspension. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed. Motion carries. Mr. Manager, item A, information on two economic development projects.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm pleased today to have two developers that are here with us to share some important information about their projects. The mayor and I were at the Lowell Plan meeting just this past week, along with Assistant Manager Bakey, to hear about these projects. And Mr. Bakey and I had, in fact, been working with these developers quite a bit over the last number of weeks, and in some cases with Mr. Power for a substantial period of time on a number of projects that he's had here in the story. The whole issue of economic development is one, though, that I think is important to talk about. It's really an amazing success story that's taken place here in the city, and obviously those of us who are familiar with the city going back 35, 40 years know the depths that the city was at and the revitalization that has occurred. But of course, I want to pay a little bit more attention to what's happened since the Great Recession that we went through back in 2008 and 2009. It's really an amazing story here in the city. As we look around other communities, peer communities, similar communities across the Commonwealth, Lowell is in a remarkable place. It has more jobs now in the city than it has since the 1980s. More people working in the city of Lowell than there were since the 1980s. We have more businesses now in the city than we did at the beginning of the recession. And not many communities can really look to that. We have one of the largest percentage increases in commercial real estate values. We exceed Cambridge, we exceed Worcester, we exceed, Adam can help me on this, I believe Boston. The increase in real estate values has dramatically increased here over the last number of years. So we've seen these projects move forward. We have Cross Point almost completely full. We have Wanna-Lancet almost completely full. We have almost 5 million square feet of mill space that has been renovated. I think it's up to 92%. We have major projects going on those. We have major retail that's taking place here in the city. And the more and more we hear in talking to developers from outside the city and real estate professionals from outside the city, Lowell is truly a desired location at this point in time. People like what's going on here. They like the stability of the city with regards to its finances, what we're doing with infrastructure. It certainly helps to have the University of Massachusetts growing and succeeding here. That is a big sell for us. But it's really a case where more and more developers, based upon the conversations I've had, and Councilor Kennedy and I had a lengthy conversation about this just yesterday with some major developers that he's certainly very familiar with, that are looking to the city. And so these two projects that I just want to have the developers come in and give a short presentation to the City Council, because I know this is a top priority. The mayor has made this a top priority to continue on the economic development here in the city, that these are indicative of what is going to be happening and continue to happen here in the city. So you didn't come to hear me speak. You get to do that every Tuesday. So I'm going to turn it over to Sal Lapoli, who's going to talk about the Thorndike Mill Building, which I believe used to be the, I saw it, was it a Hood? Hood Sarsaparilla. I actually was out of town this weekend, and there was a old, I was going to buy it for you, Sal, but it was $8, and I didn't want to, I didn't want to spring for it. But it was an old postcard that showed the Hood Sarsaparilla, and if it's still there when I go back to this place, I'll spring for it. But it's a historic building in the city. It's an amazing building, great entryway into the city, and we're very fortunate that Mr. Lipoli, who I've known for a number of years now, through other connections, has decided to take his success story in Lawrence and bring it over to the city of Lowell. So, Sal.
Thank you very much, Bernie. And, just a quick note on exactly what you're talking about. I did some research after I purchased the real estate, and that sarsaparilla plant, the Hood plant, actually produced 10,000 bottles of sarsaparilla a day back at the turn of the century. So talk about an economic engine during those days. It's really incredible. The history of it is really, really special. But with that, I just want to thank everybody for listening to me today. My name is Sal Lupoli. I'm the owner of Riverwalk Properties. I'm the owner of Sal's Pizza or Salvatore's Restaurant. I've been in your city operating one of my establishments for well over 20 years now, so it's pretty exciting, so thank you very much. I've always had a desire to come into your city and do further development, and now is a great opportunity. But I do want to thank the mayor. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Bernie, and thank you, city council members, for giving me an opportunity today. I would like very briefly, just to tell you a little bit about myself and the history of my company. I started the company back in 1990. 25 years we've almost been in business. We've scaled the company up to 50 retail stores. We have 1,000 employees in our operation, in our hospitality division. And it all started with a small dream coming out of school. It wasn't a business we took over. This is a true entrepreneurial story. This is a story about creating a strategy while you were in school and fulfilling that strategy. We didn't buy a business. We didn't take over a family enterprise. This was something from scratch. Now, having said that, along the way, we realized the power of owning your own real estate, because once you have equity in real estate, you have equity in the community. And I think that's very important, because every community that we go into, we have equity in that community, we have a passion for that community, and our legacy and our reputation, all you have to do is kind of take a peek at it and you'll see what we do. But something happened very exciting in early 2000, which was our commissary needed a second building. Now, what our commissary is, we produce all our product in the hospitality business from one location. We ship it out to all these retail stores. We started looking for other commissaries or other plants. We looked at Lowell, we looked at Lawrence, we looked at Haverhill. Haverhill got taken off the list. Why? Because it was a little too close to the existing commissary. That left Lowell and Lawrence. Well, this happened, like I said, in early 2000. We started looking for these locations. And when we went into the city of Lawrence, we really, the mayor tackled me and wouldn't let me out the door. So that's kind of how I ended up over there. I wanted to acquire a piece of real estate. I wanted to make an investment. I wanted close proximity to the highways. I wanted close proximity to my existing commissary. So Lawrence just fit the bill right. But having said that, something very special happened in a very short time. This is actually the complex we took over. We did it at one building at a time. The first building we bought was this building right here. That's building 1. It's in your packet. That's 240,000 square feet. When we first came there and decided to make an acquisition in the city of Lawrence, people all thought we were crazy. And they thought it was crazy because that complex, which is 1.5 million square feet, was almost completely abandoned. And that was it really was used for storage. There were really no job creations. Well, we had a different vision. And what we did is a true entrepreneurial story. I refinanced everything in our company. I recollateralized every piece of real estate. I even recollateralized my own home to acquire that real estate and give us enough time to be able to make the investment. Having said that, that was in 2003. 2007, less than 4 years later, we reached almost 70% occupancy in it. Our level of investment rose to about $20 million. You see all the cars in the parking lot. It really consists of 5 buildings now, that 1.5 million square feet. What we did is, at that picture right there, you probably have about 120 new companies, new economic development, new jobs in that business right there. There's probably about easily 600 to 800 jobs in that complex as it sits right there in less than 4 years. Why? Because we were committed to it. Why? Because we have a public-private partnership. This could not be done without the city of Lawrence at the public perspective. What we did over there is we worked hand in hand with the city on a daily basis. I just want to flash to 2013. What you see there now, Riverwalk has swelled to 2.5 million square feet. It now has over 200 companies. It now has 5,000 people that work in the city of Lawrence that less than 10 years earlier did not exist. That's 5,000 new jobs to that area. These really aren't transplanted jobs. These are jobs that, because we focused on certain clusters, energy, technology, education, DCAM. So with that opportunity creates what you see here today. What we'd like to talk to you about is the Comfort Furniture Building or the Thorndike Mill Outlet on Thorndike Street located at 145. My family and my companies, Lopoli Companies, has purchased this building. Just to let you know, we negotiated this building for over 3 years, and I think that's very important. The two families that owned it, it was really much of a challenge to get both families on the same page, but having said that, working with both families, working with the city, and I had talked to Bernie many, many times about this, I had signed a non-disclosure, so there was not a lot of opportunity for me to talk about it, and you really didn't see it in the newspaper, but quietly behind the scenes, we were working on this piece of real estate. What's exciting is the potential of this piece of real estate. Now, we look at this real estate as not just what other people would look at it. Maybe they would look at it as some kind of a housing component. Although I think housing is a very integral part of this, I see housing at market rate. I think that's very important. I see this as truly a mixed-use development. Now, you just happen to have a developer in front of you that has a division, as I said, with 1,000 employees, 50 retail stores. We've been in business for almost 25 years. So we look at this as an opportunity to create, a destination. What? Destination for Salvatores. And because of the way it's situated, we think there's an opportunity to not only create a restaurant or a destination point on this side of the street, but if you start to go down to the train station, the road dips a little bit, and the windows on the lower level become full-size windows, and that's a full lower level, almost 13 feet. So we really see a beautiful restaurant on the first floor from the parking lot, and if you went around back or you went through the restaurant down to the lower level, you would see another component. Maybe a first class, a really wonderful place to go and have drinks or watch the games with your kids, just a really nice atmosphere. We also look as the right side of the building, because this building's an L, we look at this as a great opportunity to create jobs. Now, all I can tell you is this. Whenever we have a wonderful opportunity, I have a focus group of roughly a couple hundred companies that I can send out an idea to over there in Lawrence, Massachusetts. So when I put this together, I sent out a questionnaire to some of my key tenants that all they want to do is expand. These young entrepreneurs, that their roots are in the Merrimack Valley. I'll tell you this. 4,000 or 5,000 square feet of this building is probably already leased out if given the opportunity. And my job is to listen to the city council. My job is to listen to the city of Lowell to make sure that this site is developed the right way. I have a lot of wonderful ideas, but that's all they are. They're ideas. And I think with the public-private partnership, we can create something really special over there, which is the gateway to your city. Now, we think that these new jobs that we're going to create are not, once again, transplanted jobs. These are jobs that the company said, I've been dying to make an investment in the Merrimack Valley. Lowell works well for us. Sal, if you're going to own the building we're in, count us down for X number of feet. I think that's important because that's exactly how Riverwalk started. That's exactly what the kind of conversation we had, telling people, networking. So with that, we see the right side of the building as job creation, destination. We also see something really wonderful, which we're building as we speak, an entrepreneurial center. We see an incubator. And what we see over there is the ability to create and hone some of the skills of the people at UMass, the kids at UMass, at Middlesex, or anybody that wants to start a job. We see the ability to build a center. Now, this is phase one. Now, what you see over here in this particular building is the commercial on the right-hand side. You see a skin on the right-hand side, and I gave every one of you a picture. You'll see a Salvatore's brand right there, just to give you an idea of the location. The left side of the building, we see two components. We certainly see housing, so truly a mixed use, separated. So we got businesses on the right side, we got a destination on the right side, the whole left side of the building. We see a housing component at market rate. Why do we want to do that? You have a jewel in the middle of your city, or at the, right at the bottom of the connector, and that's the transportation center. You can get on the railroad there, commuter rail, and get right into Boston, or take it up north. You can come right up into Portland, Maine if you switch over trains. Having said that, we also have the bus terminal right there. We have a parking garage that you have 900 spots in that parking garage that, by the way, at nighttime is completely vacant. I think that's really important because this is an opportunity for your city, for the city of Lowell, to be able to utilize this parking garage not only during the day, but also at nighttime. Now, after speaking to the gentleman, Jim Scanlon, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, and I want to apologize if I'm not, there's approximately 300 spots still available during the day. Now, if we look at the right side, you look at about 60,000 square feet of new jobs. If you just use the formula, which is probably 4 per 1,000, well, there's anywhere between 2 and 250 spots right there. Now, if you look at the bottom of the left side of the building, you'll see a retail component. We think that's a wonderful opportunity to create high-end retail over there. Let's talk about what high-end retail is. We're talking about not creating a convenience store over there. We want to bring specialty businesses in there, and we can afford to wait for the right opportunity that will assist and create synergy for the rest of the building and the area. And I think that's really important. I think the retail component could potentially be as much as 6,000 to 8,000 square feet. I think the housing component in phase 1, and I got something really exciting to show you in phase 2 right after this board. But what do you have? You have destinations, restaurants, 2 different restaurants. You have job creation. You have an entrepreneurial center, an incubator, accelerator program. In the middle of the building, that's where you would have the elevators or the center core. On the left side of the building, you would have market rate apartments, not condos, and I think that's very, very important. If you look at the history of our company, we are buy and hold. We come into a community, we make a significant investment, we become part of the community. Our reputation speaks for itself. You also see a retail component, once again, to bring people in from the surrounding communities, maybe specialty wine shops or specialty shops that are in there that complement, like I said, the rest of the building. That's phase 1. We feel very comfortable about that. Also, we want to show you phase 2. And what's phase 2? What else can we do with this wonderful piece of property that we have at 145 Thorndike Street? Well, this particular tower that you see here, I want you to understand, the tower is detached, connected through a bridge, but it's a freestanding building that sits in front of the building where the housing is going to be, quite a bit off it. Having said that, we look at this tower as another opportunity for market rate apartments at that location. Why? To take advantage of that transportation center, that bus terminal. And I really think coming into the city of Lowell, that being a very highly visible location, Joe, if I can just show the original picture, highly visible location, I think potentially that this tower, when you're talking about housing, when you're talking about the ability to have access to that garage, I think we can turn something like this into something special like this. I think what's exciting about this, it could be a phased project. We concentrate on phase 1, which is the destination, the retail, the job creation, the incubator program, and the apartments. Phase 2, we can create the tower. Now, some people have said to us, geez, maybe that tower can also be in a commercial application on the first floor. I think that's part of the listening process. You know, my job is to create a vision, you know, and people joke about my definition of a vision all the time. You know, a vision is the imagination, but based on the person, that person can turn it into a reality. So this is a lot of imagination. This is big dreams, big hopes, but with that, with the people in this room and your community, I think we can put something together. The innovation center that we're talking about, this entrepreneurial center, is not just like a good idea. You know, we're already in play with this. I've had the pleasure and the good fortune of just graduating from MIT, their business school, Sloan. 14 months full-time I went to school. Why? I wanted to take a step back from my business. I felt there were things that I can learn. I think the day you think you can stop learning is probably not the smartest day in your life. So the leader of the company took a step back, immersed himself back in school. I got my MBA, but while I was there, I realized the CIC Center, and if anybody doesn't know what that is, the Cambridge Innovation Center, which is directly across the street from Sloan or MIT. They produce more companies in that 1/4 mile radius at MIT than any place you've ever seen on the earth. If they were a country, they would have the 13th largest budget in the entire world. Now, the reason I say that is because the CIC Center has over 700 companies that they incubate, they start, and they spawn and go off into new, in other areas. That's why Cambridge is like the hot spot in the entire state of Massachusetts, the most expensive place to purchase real estate or to lease real estate, because there are so many companies there. CIC has a big part of that. Now, MIT, CIC, technology, this isn't about technology. What's the matter with creating an atmosphere to harness and bring in these young companies, especially students from UMass or students from Middlesex, or just an entrepreneur that wants to have a place to start up their company, and maybe he's the plumber, maybe he's the electrician, maybe it's a specific trade. Now, some of the people in the room, including myself, has had the good fortune of going to school and receiving potentially a business degree, but that doesn't make me an expert in accounting. I graduated with management. That doesn't make me an expert in maybe operations. Now, imagine being able to go into a center and having the luxury or the mentoringship to talk to somebody about branding or marketing. And if you need to get sharpened up, you can go to UMass and take a class, or Middlesex and take a class. I think this is just a great feeder system for the entire Merrimack Valley. This is being built in Lawrence, Mass. right now, as we speak. I think this is a wonderful opportunity to build something in Lowell along the same premise. We create an incubator, an innovation center. It's very personal to the city of Lowell. I think it can be a wonderful opportunity, and we can start to create and see what kinds of jobs come out of this. I will tell you this. Over 30% of the expansion of Riverwalk, which is now 2.5 million square feet, has come from working with existing companies that have come into the location and making a way for them to expand and working with them. And when you have a developer that understands that this is a marathon and not a sprint, and I don't have to make a profit tomorrow, my profit can come in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. And people say, 15 years. Well, I've been doing this up in Lawrence for 10 years, and that went by like this. This is a project that we see that we think we can create a lot of jobs. We think that Joe, I just want to come back to phase 2. We think we can create a lot of opportunity. We think we can bring people into your city. We also created some penthouses on top of the building. We realize that this vision or this dream that we have needs to follow the right channels. We need to go through historic. We want to be very respectful of that. But the reason this idea came up with the skin is I saw what they did to the Appleton Mills, and I thought that was fantastic. That's a historic building. There's a new skin on it. It's different. It brings the new in with the old. And that's why you see something like this, a detached tower on the left side. I just think it's a great opportunity to create a beacon over there. I think we can talk about how they're attached through bridges. I think we can talk about the benefits of the parking garage and the commuter rail, which allows something like this to take place. Now, if you were just talking and looking at that parking lot that exists, you're talking about maybe anywhere between 90 and 100 spots that are there now, if you kind of cleaned up the site a little bit. So really, if you look at the building, it didn't have enough parking to begin with. That's why the transportation center, that's why we work so hard in our company to acquire this real estate, because we see the transportation as an underutilized asset, certainly at nighttime. But this is a job creation during the day. This is a destination point at nighttime. This is an opportunity for bring people at market rate apartments in here. I just think the city of Lowell, I think our organization, if we listen and understand what Lowell needs, I think this is a great fit, but having said that, I want to listen to what the council has to say, and certainly all the boards. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Poley, thank you for welcome, and thank you for coming into Lowell and putting forth such a wonderful project. I will say I'm going to entertain a motion in the future that this be referred to our Economic Development Subcommittee along with the other project with Mr. Powers. So there'll be an in-depth discussion, perhaps when you're ready and you're a little bit further into the permitting process, because we want to ensure that this is on a fast track. So thank you for coming. It's an exciting project. My colleagues have some comments. Council Mercy, then Council Samaras.
Thank you very much. First off, Sal, Mr. Lapoli, I want to be honest with you. When I saw the development that was taking place in Lawrence over the river, across the bridge, I felt a little hurt because I said, why couldn't he have thought of Lowell and done this here? I felt selfish. I wanted you in the city. And I was hurt by it, and I said, gee, I'm so mad to think that we didn't snag you over here. So I just want to say that I want to thank you. Thank you very much for thinking of Lowell and coming into our city. I'm just so honored, and I want to say wow, because just watching the transformation, I'm just so thrilled to think that you're here, you're going to be here. How long would you estimate that it transforms into this? How many years are we?
You know, Rita, that's a great question. First of all, I want to commend the gentleman, one of the families that sold the real estate. The gentleman is still there. His name's Jerry Kaplan, a very good friend of mine. He's become a very good friend.
He's a great man.
And he's an institution over there, so we want to be very respectful to his business. I want to try to work with Jerry to find him a slot somewhere in that building so people can continue to, get those quality boots that he sells and really the tradition that he has. Having said that, Jerry does have some time to kind of make a decision and kind of condense. Anybody's ever been in there, they realize Jerry's got a lot of space. But maybe we can kind of skinny Jerry down a little bit, work with Jerry, and the city will work with Jerry in order to facilitate that. I don't understand your permitting process. I want to learn, Rita. I'm not sure how long the process takes, but I would say from the beginning, and maybe tonight is the first step, to when we can open up phase one, Rita, I don't see that as a very long time. I see that within a couple of years of seeing a transformation of that building. And I would say probably within 3 to 5 years, you could see something like this, Rita. Rita, the secret of our success has been not biting off more than we can chew. I want to go into this. I don't want to be over leveraged. I want to go into this project. I want to take my time. Remember, we talked about a marathon. I want to make the right investment. I don't want to make an investment because of pressure. So I think along that track, you can see something like this in its full build out anywhere between 3 and 5 years. But I think the first phase you'll see within a couple of 3 years.
Well, I think this council in future councils have a commitment to do all we can to help this transition be as smooth as possible, because this is a great, great plan. And I'm very, very honored that you chose Lowell and you come in here, and I don't know what else to say, but it's a good day for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Samaras and Councilor Rourke.
Thank you. Mr. Lopoli, thank you for this wonderful presentation. But I was also very interested when you talked about how you went into Lawrence and they literally didn't let you out of the office to start talking about the project. So, I mean, you're coming to us to make the presentation, and as political leaders in this city, how can we help you to create the atmosphere for success that you will need to make this project work? I'm not talking about tax cuts, those are things that you normally work with, but it's the atmosphere that you need to ensure success. And I think that's part of our responsibility. How do you see that?
Thank you, Councilor Samaras. First of all, I think the first step is for me and my organization, and I'm represented by Jerry Lynn Darcy, Vice President of Real Estate, local, Joe Bevilacqua, my personal assistant, local. Our team is here, and our team plans on understanding what the city of Lowell wants, what do they see, how can we fit that vision in, and listening. So with that, Councilor Samaras, we're excited to start the process right away. Hopefully, we can be working with Adam, and we can be working with the city manager right now, Bernie, and understand what the procedures are, what boards we have to go in front of, and if we can create a coalition with one message, hopefully when we go through these boards, because we're going to be asking for variances and things like that. We all know that. If we could look at the big picture and be collectively on the same page, I think that'll help the process, sir. So it's just really being a cheerleader and understanding what we need to do, understanding what the city of Lowell wants, communicating that to each other so there's no mistakes. And then I think that's the first step, sir.
I think that's what it's all about. I mean, as long as we can communicate, I mean, there's something in there for everybody. And
that's right.
The end result is what I've seen in Lawrence. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Council. Council Rourke?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Napoli, congratulations and thank you for investing in the city. Over the past decade, I've worked in the Lawrence area, so I saw the beginning of River Walk to what it is today, and it is outstanding, and the city's lucky that hopefully you can transform what you did up in Lawrence down here and into Lowell. And if there's going to be a sales like there is in Lawrence and Lowell, we're going to be winners anyways. That's a great place, so congratulations, and once again, good luck.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Council Belanger?
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. You know, prior to getting on this council, I was on the Board of Appeals for 10 years, and I've seen a lot of builders come through the city, current, past, and present, and some very, very good builders who are very committed to the community and whatnot. But Mr. Napoli is one of a kind. I happen to have the luxury of touring the River Walk on Lawrence, and Councilor Mercer, if you think it looks good going down 495, I happened to tour it with John McDonald, and I was just in awe of what I saw. Hundreds of businesses, bustling, you know, all market rate workers, condos in the area. What he did to that area is absolutely remarkable. And I had the same sentiment as Councilor Mercia shared, you know, why couldn't this be Lowell? But I guess it's never too late. Mr. Napoli, I want to welcome you and your team to Lowell. And it's long overdue. We're glad to have you. And as chairman of the Economic Development Subcommittee, I want to extend Mr. Napoli and his team. Every courtesy we have at the city's disposal will be offered to Mr. Napoli. There will be periodic discussions with his team. As we have meetings, discussions at the subcommittee, I will in turn brief my colleagues. But I assure you, my goal is that Mr. Napoli says in 3, 4, 5 years, whatever it may be, that of all the municipalities he's worked at, that Lowell was his best experience. And I'm going to work very, very diligent to get that remark. So thank you very much. And Mr. Napoli, again, welcome to Lowell.
Thank you, Council. I think what's very important is something you touched upon, which is this. I'm a big believer in job creation. I'm a big believer. Some people create housing first, and they say if you build it, they will come and live in the housing. I'm a big believer, my humble opinion, my own personal opinion, is first you create the job. Create the job that people will come to work in that area, then they'll look to settle down in that area. That's why when we looked at this project, it would have been very easy. It's a no-brainer to create all housing over there. And I'm not sure, and I don't want to assume, but the people that we've talked about it, no, you should do all housing. I don't want to do all housing. I'm willing to take a step back. I'm willing to take a little less in the commercial job creation market in order to have a mixed-use development over there, because I know what jobs do to local businesses. I know what jobs do to a community. I've had the good fortune of, like I say, to start a project that people were living in the buildings that I bought. They had no roofs on them. They were completely dilapidated. They were a symbol of blight. And now, 5,000 jobs later, $100 million in investment. The Riverwalk project, we're proud to tell you, is 1/3 today, 1/3 the business tax base of the entire city of Lawrence. So we look at this as a starting point. I've looked at some of your other mills. I'm excited about what I see. I'm excited about the cooperation I get. Everybody I talk to has been a great advocate for your city. So, Councilor, I'm excited to make an investment in your city, and I don't think it's just going to stop there.
Council Leahy.
Thank you. I just want to say, echo the sentiments of my fellow councilors, but what really shows is your pride, and that you're not willing to just come in and take the easy road and you're gonna come in, you're gonna do a great project, and that's what really comes through. And that's what we want, and that's, you know, the excitement just bubbles over, so thank you very much. And that's gonna be a very exciting, it's beautiful, you know, what else can you say? It's a lot better than, like you said, 100 new condos, you know? So, congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Counselor.
Councilor Kennedy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I could, I thank you for the presentation, it was very good, and you've chosen a building that is tired, but I think has a lot of potential, as you do, primarily because of its location. And so, you know, I look forward to working with you. I'm on the Economic Development Subcommittee, so I'm sure that we'll be seeing each other again, and I'll have other questions at that time. But if I could, and I realize that it's somewhat premature, the tower that you're proposing to build, to build that tower, you forfeit some of the parking out front.
That's correct.
So you're going to rely heavily on that parking, the parking garage at the LRTA?
Yes, sir, very much so.
Okay. And then also in the back of the building, I think you pick up another floor, don't you? Isn't there the basement?
That's absolutely correct, and that's what we originally started the conversation with, the ability to create maybe another destination location over there, a food establishment, a pub atmosphere, something over there right below the restaurant. Because as you go there, it's like a split, the windows open up on the lower level.
Okay. All right, well, I'll say the rest of my questions, but I'm happy to see you come here, and I think that building is I think it'll be a gem by the time you're done with it. I think there's a lot of potential for that building, and it's just been tired for a long, long time. When I was a little kid, my parents used to bring us there to buy sneakers.
Same with my family.
Yeah, so.
You know, I'm from Chelmsford, Massachusetts. I was originally born in East Boston, but I lived in East Chelmsford off of River Neck Road for 30-plus years. So it was not uncommon for us to go down there and buy our furniture over there or buy our sneakers down there. But I think what's important is something that you touched upon is the parking garage. No matter what you did with this project, you need additional parking. And I just think it's a natural fit and a great opportunity. That's why we spent 3 years and wouldn't quit. Most of the other developers that came in that looked, everybody sees what this council sees right now. They see that as a wonderful opportunity. It has a great location. The problem was being relentless and just sticking with it and working with those two owners until finally we created a deal. But there's no question about it. That parking garage is vital. Working with Jim Scanlon over there, understanding what his needs are, supporting that parking garage, creating long-term commitments is vital to this project. But if you do, that'll ensure the success of this project, sir, which everybody wins.
Thanks.
Any other discussion from members of the council? Again? I'm sorry, Councilor Martin?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Lapoli. I know it's a little early in the process, but I think you'll find, and I've served on the Economic Development Subcommittee too for a number of years, and I think you'll find that our permitting process will be friendly to you. We've worked hard at that. We've worked, for example, to allow the use of parking garages that are nearby to satisfy the parking requirements. I don't think this is in the historic district, but if you need a historic board permit, it's usually one-stop shopping. There aren't multiple agencies typically that you need to go through, or if you do, they're for very limited purposes. So I think all of that speaks to why over 90% of our mill space is redeveloped. This building certainly has a proud history, but it certainly has got a lot more upside potential. I've been very interested to see something happen there for a long time. I know we all have. So we appreciate your confidence in the city, appreciate the investment. We wish you well with this project, and we're here to help in any way you think we need to. So welcome.
Thank you, Councilor Martin. I do want to let you know, and I want to let the entire city of Lowell know that I've been having conversations about this project for quite some time, since we purchased it and those conversations are with Representative Nagel, Representative Golden, Representative Murphy, and Senator Donahue. All of them have offered and extended their help. How can we help you on this project? They've been so excited about this project, and that was part of our reason we made such a big investment in the city of Lawrence, because when everybody was on the same page and everybody got excited, well, that just made our organization want to invest more and more, because how can we lose if we're all together? So that public-private partnership, our representatives, our senator, I think have been totally on board with this. Very, very exciting. And so far, everybody we've spoken to, certainly starting with Bernie and Adam, I just want to thank you, and certainly you, Mr. Mayor, that I had an opportunity to explain this to, and you certainly were excited about this. Thank you, sir.
Thank you again. Councilman Malinowski? No? Okay. Mr. Manager?
If that's, I know that the council has some other business tonight, so if I could, could we borrow your easel?
Absolutely.
As a sign of private partnership. If we next have John Powers from Farley White to talk about another important property here. John actually has a long history with the city. He was involved with the lease-up of the Cross Point project, and he has a great success story with the Wanalancet Mill, which is, I think it's almost 100% full now, John, or thereabouts. So 95%, right around the corner here, and several 100,000 square feet of space with a number of businesses that has been very positively received, and the businesses locating there have been very impressed with Farley White's project, but also with the city of Lowell. But this new one is a remarkable building built by Dr. Wang. I don't want to step on your lines here, that John will tell you the history of.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Manager, and city councilors. Actually, I'm thrilled that Mr. Lapoli told me that he wasn't going to be taking any tenants, because I got a few over in Wanalancet, so I want to make sure we don't lose them. But we are, the first time I came to the Lowell City Council was 20 years ago, almost to the day. Cross Point sold 20 years ago on St. Patrick's Day, 1994. And I came in and with Chris Kelly and Lou Alvarado and was part of a real transformation and got an opportunity to see what I know Mr. Lapoli's going to see, which is a city council and a city that's committed to moving forward. It's why we bought Wanalancet Mills 15 years ago. And let me tell you, it was 20% occupied at that point. We got it up over 90% occupied, actually about 98%. And since that point, through 3 different recessions, the building's never gone below 80% occupied. Space out in the suburbs goes down below 70% occupied. And the reason is that people, once they get to Lowell, they like it. They like being here. They like the support they have from the community. So we've spent a long time. I know I've been a vocal proponent of trying to find another opportunity to invest here, and we didn't find a very little one. This building here, Dr. Wang built it, as the city manager said, as his manufacturing plant back in the mid-'80s, and he had it fully occupied. It's almost 900,000 square feet. It looks a lot like Cross Point. It's actually Cross Point laid over on its side, essentially, is what it really is. And it's a 3-story property, which today is approximately half occupied. One of the nice things about the building is the Winstanley family has owned it for over 17 years, and they've done a lot of improvements recently to the property, so we have inherited a really fantastic building. This property here is on 46 acres of land. It has over 2,000 parking spots. This is a photo of what the cafeteria in the property looks like. We're going to be enhancing that with a fitness facility in the property, with a conference center in the property, so that it will be an opportunity to have a self-enclosed environment. And as you look at these buildings, this building should be able to occupy approximately 3,000 people, okay? The 2,000 cars of parking, and then you should be able to have public transportation pick up maybe as much as another 1,000 folks. So this is a real job engine for the area. When Maycom was here, they had almost 3,000 occupants when they occupied this building in total. And today, this is a little bit of an inside look as to what this building looks like. And you can think of it as 8 3-story buildings that are all connected to each other. And each one of these squares, all the way through here, is approximately 1 acre in size.
So it gives you a sense of the scale of the facility. Actually, as I was at the Lowell plant the other day, somebody said to me that when they were on the third floor and they were going down to on the first floor and they were going to the CAF, they had to get an extra 10 minutes of lunch break just to walk to the CAF and back. So it's a very big facility. And what it does today is it contains some of the most advanced companies in the region that are actually operating there today. And if no one has been inside, and by the way, it's hard to get inside because it's a defense manufacturing facility today, as well as a research facility for an international radar company. Cobham has almost 250,000 square feet. They're a defense manufacturing firm, and what they do is radar research inside of clean rooms that are so clean that they emulate outer space. And that's right in the city of Lowell today. And every day people come and work and do research in that facility. Another company called Autoleave, where are they here? Right here on the second floor. Autoleave is a company that designs radars for cars. And what they do is it allows the car, if a ball runs in front of the car will stop rather than hitting the child chasing the ball. That is the technology that company designs, it manufactures it, and it ships it to the various automakers throughout the world. BMW, Mercedes, General Motors, they're all customers. This company right here, this is a startup firm. Now, one of the interesting things about the difference between this building and Mr. Lepoli's building is that we're going to be working on big companies. Wanna-Lancet has we have 36 different companies over there. We have small tenants, we have big tenants. The biggest tenant in Wanna-Lancet today would be the smallest tenant in this building. So to give you a sense of scale. But Rapid Microbiosystems is a company, it's a life sciences company. They have invented a way to replace, if anybody remembers from high school, the Petri dish, where you used to grow things in it. They've found a way to turn that digital. And they're going to sell that to all of the life sciences companies around the world, but primarily based here in Massachusetts, in Cambridge, where these companies are based. And these folks are based right now in Bedford, and they're coming to this building for two reasons. Because they got the support from the city of Lowell, and because it has great access and infrastructure with the University of Massachusetts. This building can't live without the university. I've talked to the chancellor. The chancellor and I have been friends for a long time. Obviously, they have a big portion of Wanna-Lancet as well. This building is going to play off of the university. We're 2 miles down the road. This is what's going to drive additional businesses to come in here. And I'm not coming today with any request for anything from the council except one thing. Please just be yourselves. You've made really good decisions over the last 20 years of my relationship with Lowell. I have to say, I was part of the decision when the city used Section 108 money to support Chris Kelly and put what was then called the New England Telephone Company, or NYNEX, into that building. It became Verizon. It's now, Verizon has over 250,000 feet in that property and a huge research facility there. That was all part of the forward thinking that this council and that the city did back in those days. If you continue that, I don't know what we'll have, who will show up, what kind of support I'll need, but I'm very confident, and we've spent a lot of money here believing that your decisions are good ones and that when we come to you with some idea, with some request, that folks will support it. I know, for example, the city manager. We had a company that was threatening to leave Wanna-Lancet. It was 3,000 feet. Now, 3,000 feet, that's about 10 jobs. He came over and talked to them and told them why they shouldn't leave the city and move to Chelmsford, why they should stay here, and they did. And that kind of support is what, for 10 jobs. That's the kind of support that we're going to need here, and I'm sure we're going to get it. And the fact that you invite both of us, Mr. Lepoli and myself, here to just talk to you tonight, you'd be rather be home and with your family. So I appreciate you taking the time tonight to do that, and I'm happy at any time to answer any questions tonight or any other time. And also, I would welcome anyone who would like to come by and see what the property looks like, because I can imagine that a lot of you may never have been in there before. So if you'd like to ever see it, I'd be happy to arrange a tour. And thanks again very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Powers, and we're happy to see that you've purchased another building. As you mentioned at the Lowell plan, you're one of the largest landowners or property owners in the city, and that's a good thing. So before we let you go, I think we have some questions, if that's okay. Councilor Marcia?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have any questions, but as I thanked the previous speaker, Sal Lepoli, for coming into Lowell, I want to thank you for continuing to invest in the city of Lowell. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And I think, as we mentioned, this will, perhaps go to the Economic Development Subcommittee if at any point in time you need assistance, permits, anything from the city.
Well, just, Mr. Mayor, just as a point, and I hadn't made this, but I should make this to the council. Tomorrow, I have a 70,000 square foot tour in this building. We already have a proposal that was sent to a 30,000 foot tenant, and I had a call from somebody looking for 300,000 square feet. That's what this building can do. We can get big companies to come and look in the city of Lowell. And I will make this commitment to this council right here. If we have a big company that comes into this city and looks at this building, and we can't accommodate them, we're not just going to let that die, because that's a mistake. We're going to call the city manager. We're going to call the development department. We're going to say, where else can these folks go? Because now they've come into Lowell and they've seen Lowell and they know what's here. And I think that's your real opportunity here, to transform this into more development, into more jobs. And by the way, I respect the housing developers. They do a great job. We don't do housing. We do office space. We do manufacturing space. We do R&D space. We're about businesses. That's what our jobs are. That's what our entire company is based on.
Council Belanger?
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. I do want to thank Mr. Powers once again for his continued investment here in the city of Lowell. You really must believe in the city, and we will not let you down.
Thank you.
Thank you once again, and I would like to thank the manager for setting up these two appointments tonight, Mr. Lapoli and Mr. Powers. I think it's key that they get introduced to the council and keep us in tune to what's going on as to what we can do for them. So I commend you for doing that as well. I think it's a very, very good idea.
Thank you, Councilor.
Mr. Powers, question. What is the current occupancy rate of the building as we speak?
Half. About 425, actually, I'll give you the exact number is 417,000 square feet. And there's 418,000 available. So we have our work cut out ahead of us.
Okay, well, you have our support the whole way. I want you to know that. And, Mr. Manager, I will be in contact with you the end of the week for Mr. Powers' information. I would like to tour the building as soon as possible and a discussion with Mr. Powers as to how the city can help him. So I look forward to a tour of the building, Mr. Powers, and I wish you the very best.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Council Milonazo, and then Council Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was fortunate enough to attend the Lowell Plan meeting last week when John gave the presentation, and I just want to acknowledge all of the good work that John and his company has done in Lowell for so many years. When he first came to Lowell with Chris Kelly and Lou Alvarado back many, many years ago, he really did stay in the community. He believed in Lowell. He ended up buying the Wanalancet Mill, and the Wanalancet Mill has been a tremendous success. I know how closely he works with the Lowell Plan Board, the Lowell Development and Financial Corporation Board. As you all know, their offices, we were relocated over there with the help of John and his company, and it was just a great decision for the Lowell Plan and the LDFC to locate over there. And I'm just thrilled that John has invested, and it's millions and millions of dollars into this particular building. And I know that the City Council and the City Administration and the various boards and commissions will work with Farley White to make sure that this is a success. So thank you, John, very much.
Welcome.
Council Kennedy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To you, Mr. Powers, I just wanted to commend you on a good presentation. I, too, would be interested in taking the tour. It may not be a bad idea for the whole economic development subcommittee to take the tour, or maybe the entire city council would like to take the tour. I think that would be a good thing. I've never, that building's been there a long time, and I've never seen it. I'd be very interested in just the sheer size of it. Probably would be impressive, just that alone. But so I look forward to that.
Be happy to do it.
Council Martin?
Thank you. I just want to say thank you to Mr. Power, and it's Power with no S. John and I have known each other for a long time, and I've heard this pitch that he's given to us before many times at other public meetings and privately on the phone or in other meetings. He's a real cheerleader for Lowell. He came here, he was the main broker, leased up Cross Point. He's leased up the Wanalancet Mill. He's got confidence in Lowell, and I have confidence that he'll have success in this building too. But he's always told me, he said, my challenge is to get people to come to Lowell. He said, when they get here, they like it. And he wouldn't be able to have the success that he's had if he weren't a real champion for the city. So I want to congratulate you on this investment. Thank you for the past work, and I think you know the council and the city government is here to help where it can, but most of the time you've been able to do it without a whole lot of help, and I think that speaks to your ability and your vision, but we appreciate your confidence in the city, so thanks.
Thank you, Council.
Well, again, thank Council Mercia.
I just have one last comment, and I couldn't let you leave tonight without saying thank you every year for that beautiful Christmas tree display on top of your building at Wanalancet Mills. That's beautiful. And please leave the colored lights on at Cross Point, because that is tremendous. And so many people talk about the beauty of that at night. Okay, so
We're going to have to find something unique to do here. But I would say, Councilor Mercier, you know, we look at the Christmas tree at Wanalancet as I still have a vision. If my whole vision, you know, most of you probably think my vision is a full building right here. Maybe it is. But actually, my vision is that every single smokestack in Lowell would be a Christmas tree at Christmas.
beautiful.
And
yes.
I would challenge and welcome anyone, yes, anyone
Really?
that owns one of these stacks to come to us. We'd be happy to help with the engineering, with the design, with the process. And there's a fascinating, if you're not at all bothered by heights, there's a fascinating YouTube video, which I'd be happy to send to the manager, which actually this year when the Steeplejacks put the tree up, they had a camera on their helmet, and they filmed the whole process of climbing and putting this all in. It's a little scary as you look down, but it's a great thing. And I have to say, the letters I've received from children, children sending letters saying, thank you for doing this. I look out, I see this at night. It's really nice. I mean, so that's the win for us. I mean, is you know, children care about this. It makes a difference.
Thank you.
Great. Council Samaras.
John, I want to thank you for everything you do. Since I've known you, everything that you've promised to do, you have done. And I'd also like to thank you as the former headmaster also. You were always there through the Lowell plan to help the high school, and I've always appreciated that. But thank you. This is a great project. But I think all the city councilors should make themselves available to see that site. I'd like to see that myself.
Looks like we'll have a tour of your building pretty soon, Mr.
I look forward to it. I look forward to it. Thanks again very much, and thanks for the invitation.
Thank you. Have a great night. Okay, moving back to, well, while we're on the communications from the city manager, any other discussion? Okay, so we'll go right to...
Well, I would like to have something to say on item C, but I think we should go back to the unfinished business first.
Well, item C also pertains to unfinished business, so why don't we go back to item number 3, unfinished business, and it's an order to discontinue a portion of Worcester Road. Council Martin?
I just move approval on this.
Motion approved by Council Martin. Seconded by Council Mercia. Discussion? Roll call.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Mayor Elliott.
Yes.
Counsel Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
No.
Counsel Martin.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
8 yeas, 1 nay.
8 yeas, 1 nay, motion carries. Back to item number 5, communications from the city manager. Council Martin, item number 5-1.
Right, so this communication has to do with the remainder of Worcester Road, and whether that had been abandoned or not, and I guess the memo indicates that it was not abandoned, and there's an opinion from the law department attached to it, which I happen to agree with, that the city shouldn't necessarily, the city really doesn't have any rights in this road, and therefore there was no need to abandon it. I think that was the decision reached at the time. However, as indicated by the previous vote, we still get requests all the time to abandon rights in these paper streets. And I think the real impact of those requests is we abandon the public rights, if there are any. I think in most all cases there aren't, but it certainly doesn't hurt to abandon any public rights if they exist. And I think that would be the same case for the remainder of Worcester Road. So I'd like to refer this back to the manager and that we proceed to abandon the rights in the rest, the rights of the public, if any, in the remainder of the unpaved street known as Worcester Road.
Motion by Councilor Martin, seconded by Councilor Rourke, to refer item C back to the city manager. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to the next item of the agenda. I was going to say, well, I entertain a motion to accept all those 3 reports. I think we took votes on all of them. Motion to accept reports and place on file by Councilor Belanger, second by Councilor Kennedy. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. Item 5-2, out-of-state travel, parking. Discussion on this item. Motion to approve by Councilor Leahy, seconded by Councilor Martin. Roll call.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Mayor Elliott.
Yes.
Counsel Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Martin.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
It's 9 yeas.
9 yeas, motion carries.
Your Honor,
Councilor Leahy,
I just had a question sort of related to this.
to that last out-of-state travel?
To the, to the out-of-state travel.
Councilor Leahy?
Just a question to you to the manager, sort of related to this. I've asked before about the parking situation downtown, so where he's going away on this, forget what your parking director, does he have anything to say? You don't have to look stunned, but.
No.
You know, I've asked before and I've complained about the parking situation after snowstorms. So does he have would the parking director have any input on the snow removal downtown? Because, you know, we did a better job this time, but there still are parking spots that we're not digging out. So I'd like to almost put on a motion that we can kind of sit down and review the parking situation after snowstorms, because, you know, we're missing out on some revenue.
What I think we can do is, he will have, I think that's a great topic to bring up. I think every community faces this same issue of snowstorms. You spend all your time out there clearing the streets. In many cases, it's for, 20 plus hours straight, and then you have to take the guys off, and then by the time they wake back up again, it's business as usual in the downtown area, and you got snow there, and then it's the challenge of getting it out. And that's really the challenge that we face. You know, we don't want to interfere with the business when we remove the snow. We don't want to interfere with the residents when if we try to do it late at night. It's a challenge for us. But I think that what we could do is, and I do want to note that we are aware that Boston is not out of state. This was put in, it's a Boston conference, and it's really didn't even need to come to the council. It sort of slipped through here. But it's something that I think his talking to other parking directors and parking people may get some good ideas. So I'll ask him to raise this as an issue with some of the other parking people out there.
Yeah, I mean, we could discuss, clearing one side of the street one night, the other side the other night. But even, we all notice there are people who get around on those motorized carts and wheelchairs, and we have to make sure we're doing a better job that they can, they're residents downtown and they need to get around. So I'd like this, I noticed in the itinerary that they'll be discussing such items, so if we could
I will ask him to
meet up, yeah.
Look up.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Moving on to next item. Item 6.1 is a vote for a temporary license agreement on 299 Tanner Street. Motion to waive the full reading by Councilor Milazzo, seconded by Councilor Rourke. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Second reading by title. City of Lowell, a vote in City Council authorizing the city manager enter into a temporary license agreement with Tanner Street Corporation, principal office at 270 Tanner Street, City of Lowell, property to wit 299 Tanner Street, for the purpose of an automobile sales, including an automobile sales trailer office for the business owned by the Tanner Corporation, a local automobile sales company known as Howe Auto Sales. What is the wish of the body?
Move approval.
Move approval by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Rourke. Roll call.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Mayor Elliott.
Yes.
Counsel Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Martin. Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
8 yeas.
8 yeas, motion carries. Next item, item number 7.1, orders from the city manager, order of a 60-day trial. Motion to waive the full reading by Council Belanger, seconded by Councilor Kennedy. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Second reading by title. City of Lowell, order in City Council pursuant to Chapter 266 of the Code of Ordinances, City of Lowell, Massachusetts, concerning Section 266-6 thereof entitled Temporary Experimental Regulations. Temporary traffic regulations are hereby implemented for a period of 60 days. Councilor Mercia?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a result of a neighborhood traffic subcommittee issue where residents in the neighborhood and neighborhood organizations came together and said because of the congestion and the traffic tie-ups, that this would be a good idea to propose such a thing, and thank you to the traffic engineer for bringing this forward. It'll be a 60-day trial, and if it's successful, then it would be going into the quarterly report. This is about restricting the parking on the sides of the buildings in the area of Bridge Street from VFW to the 6th Street. The reason for this would be to widen the traffic flow. There was, the traffic engineer actually went to the different businesses and talked about if this would impact your business during the time between 5 a.m. and 9 a.m. So they all seem comfortable with this proposal. And this is the proper way to do city business here, by not just setting some rule or regulation, but to consult with the businesses that are impacted by this and see if they're amenable to it before it's actually implemented. And so this is a good way to have done that. They agreed, and so this is a good vote, and I thank you as a member of the Neighborhood Traffic Subcommittee for this coming into fruition. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor.
If it passes, thank you.
If it passes. Any further discussion on this item? Roll call.
Motion.
Yeah, motion by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Milonazo. Roll call.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Mayor Elliott.
Yes.
Counsel Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Martin.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
That's 9 yeas.
9 yeas, motion carries. Reports. Subcommittee? None yet. Council Milonazo?
Just for informational purposes, I did contact the clerk's office, and we've scheduled a zoning subcommittee for February 25th at 5:30 p.m. here in the council chambers.
February
Thank you.
25th, thank you. Council Rourke?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As well, first Public Safety Subcommittee will be March 4th at 5:30. At that point in time, Superintendent Taylor will be giving out his new plan for community policing. Thank you.
Great, very good. Thank you, Councilor. Council Belanger?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, informational purposes that we have Economic Development Subcommittee meeting scheduled for next Tuesday, the 18th at 5:30. And on the agenda will be an update from Trinity Financial people that Adam Becky is going to deliver a representation there, and also the discussion of the city parking ordinance is on the agenda as well. So, thank you.
Very good, thank you, Councilor. This is not a report, but it's been several weeks now that members have their iPads, and the clerk's office, along with the manager's office, is eager to go to and slowly transition to paperless. Not Council Mercia. I know it's nerve-wracking, and there's no hurry, Council Mercia, or any other members of the council. We're still going to make copies. But I did want to offer the mayor's aide will be here next week to troubleshoot and have any, I still have, challenges with it, but she will be here, and we'll see if we can get someone from MIS to be able to provide any support to walk through it, because it is a good tool. It's been in City Hall for quite some time, and it's going to be a challenging change, but in any event, we're getting there. So on the next item on the agenda, it's item number 9, petitions. There are 2 claims for property damage. Motion by Councilor Rourke, seconded by Councilor Samaras, to refer to the Law Department for report and recommendation. All those in favor signify by saying aye. And the opposed? Motion carries. Claims are going to the Law Department. Next item is under miscellaneous. Mary Lallis of Lowell, Mass. requests to address City Council regarding 157 Forest Street. Ms. Lallis, welcome.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Welcome.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm not used to doing this, so I don't have a fancy easel or charts or, sorry about that. My name's Barbara Lallis, and I'm here on behalf of my mother, Mary Lallis, who owns a piece of property at 157 West Forest Street. I have some things that you may want to see that I'm going to reference, so I'd like to hand them out, but I'm sorry I don't have multiple copies. So, first of all, again, thank you, everybody. My mom is 91, or is soon to be 91. She's been a lifelong resident of Lowell. She donated a parcel of land in order to help build the Bailey School, which is adjacent to the Daly School in the Highland section of Lowell. At that time, there was a piece 157 that was not included in that parcel that was donated to the city that is not a buildable lot of property. There's assessments that you will see coming from Norse Environmental, which is an engineering firm, which is a third-party independent, that's been done since 2005 is the latest paperwork that I could find, and that was refreshed multiple years in a row. The latest being January of this year, where the wetlands and other easements have increased. The piece of property is assessed at $137,000 and has been for some time. My mother hired counsel to represent her on this matter previously and has offered to donate it to the city of Lowell. She is not in a position due to a subdural hematoma in a brain surgery, as well as recently just being discharged from Lowell General with pneumonia as of Friday, to be here this evening to talk directly for herself. But that property has easements from the power companies, both gas and electric. It has high-tension power lines. It is listed as being 14.9 acres with the assessor's office, and it's 1.49. It has a brook that runs through it. It has additional wetlands that have increased in size, according to the engineering, that is not on the Lowell GIS. In addition to that, it abuts Route 3. It is a good access way, as a secondary access way to the Bailey and the Daly schools. Additionally, I am not in a financial position, obviously, to buy the property or at that rate, or to pay the back taxes or anything on it. By the same token, if the city wants to make a park out of that and do it as open space, the neighborhood is very amenable to that, and I personally would be willing to assist in that with whatever means I'm able to do so. We'd like to work with the city to come with an amenable solution to this. My mother's a good woman. She's not trying to cheat anybody. And she could have $137,000. She'd use it to take care of herself. We're out of options here, and I need help. I'm sorry. Sorry, thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you for coming and speaking. Council Mercia?
I spoke to this woman a few times already before in the past on this particular property, and I just don't understand how this woman comes forward and says, we own this property that's like in the middle of an area that we can't do anything with it, and yet I don't understand if you have property and you don't pay your taxes on it or whatever, and it's in foreclosure and you lose it. She's willing to give it away, and I don't know where we're going with this. Why are we even discussing this property when it's such a burden? The person is like wanting to give it away, and we as a city won't just take it off our hands. I don't get what the deal is here. I don't understand why this woman should have to come here and cry because... No, that's all right. I'm sad for you. I don't understand. Is this in litigation, and we can't talk about it, or...
No, I agree, Counsel. She came to my office, and I suggest write this note, come speak to the council.
We can refer this to the law department, but I wish something would be final with this.
Mr. Manager?
We'll be happy to take this and review it and make a determination, get a report back to the council on
But
this.
please let the council get a report about
Absolutely.
it. But I'm like not knowing where to go with this, and I don't know whether we could talk about it or whatever, but it's desperate means when someone comes here at the last minute. I didn't know where to go with it myself.
We will.
So thank you, Mr. Manager.
Sure.
If we could finalize this. A woman shouldn't be sick to die and have a daughter come to say, please take this off my hands.
Sure.
Okay.
When people are abandoning their property in foreclosure or whatever, here's a woman wanting to dissolve this. Thank you.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but Ms. Lyles, you tried to do this in the past, and you were denied, correct?
I don't know, to be fair, sir, I don't know if I was denied. I don't have paperwork coming back from the lawyer. I just have the letters from the lawyer to the city, and I'm sure that the city did a review, and I'm sure many people have tried to help here. I don't have the documentation, so
Okay,
I can't
that
give you
was
a
my
solid answer, and I
understanding.
apologize for that.
We'll
Okay.
look.
But I know many people here have listened and tried, and I want to acknowledge that. My mother's been a lifelong resident of the city. She's a Carney Medal scholar. She's opened 2 businesses in the city. You know, she loves this city. She had the opportunity to leave many times and didn't. She educated her kids in the public school system here. My brother and I went to the University of Lowell.
Right.
I mean, she's been very, very committed to the city.
Okay.
So, and I know people have tried to do the right thing here, and I appreciate that very, very much.
Okay.
So thank you.
Okay. Motion has been made and seconded to refer this to the law department. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and they opposed. Motion carries. Next item is again under miscellaneous. Attorney James Flood for Mr. and Mrs. Joseph Consalvo requesting zoning amendment on 1291 Middlesex Street. Motion to refer to the law department by Councilor Milanazzo, seconded by Councilor O'Rourke. All those in favor signify by saying aye. And the opposed? Motion carries. Now under City Council motions. First motion by Councilor Kennedy. City Council requests Finance Subcommittee recommend appropriate salary for acting city manager and acting city clerk. Second by Councilor O'Rourke. Councilor Kennedy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just briefly, the acting city manager and the acting city clerk will be taking on new responsibilities, although for a short period of time, and so that I feel like there should be some compensation for that, and so I thought what would be best would be to have the Finance Committee take a look at it and see what would be appropriate, and then report back to the City Council. I think we have, with a recommendation, and I think we have until noon time on March 10th to take some action on that. So there is time for that committee to meet and to give a report to the council. And it just seems like that is the most thoughtful and prudent way to handle the matter.
Thank you, Councilor. Further discussion on the matter? All those in favor signify by saying aye. And the opposed? Motion carries. Next motion by Councilor Belanger. Request City Council, request Mayor appoint a Downtown Economic Development Task Force. Second by Councilor Mercy. Councilor Belanger?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This motion, Mr. Mayor, stems from last Monday where in WCAP they had a 3-hour segment on Lowell Looks Ahead where, many of our business leaders got together, gave ideas, shared thoughts, where Chancellor Meehan called in, Sal Lapoli called in, Jim Cook called in, all the major business leaders in the community. all seem we know are very, very committed to this city. Now, historically, what we do is send out for studies to the tune of, $25,000, $30,000, whether it's a city or the Lowell plan has been very, very active in this. And there's nothing wrong with that. We appreciate studies, whoever does them and where they come from, by all means. But I don't believe there's a need to spend tens of thousands of dollars. We have the talent right here in the city of Lowell and people who are committed to get this downtown going vibrant once again. I don't mean to neglect other parts of the city. I think throughout the rest of the city, we're doing fairly well. It's mainly our central business district, downtown, that is the most lagging at this time, and I think it needs the most attention. So internally here, we have the city, within our city limits, we have the people who are committed, willing to step up, share thoughts, give ideas, Mr. Mayor. So I put it to you and members of this council, myself, or whatever it takes to gather a task force of certain individuals, business leaders, city officials, residents, put together a 10, 15-member task force to form a round table, and let's get something done right away, rather than long-term studies and projects. We have enough of those, quite frankly. I mean, we're going in the right direction, but everything's a long-term plan here. This is more immediate. These people are willing to step up right away. We could see results in just a few weeks and months rather than years. So we have everything at our disposal here to move this downtown forward, and I put it to you, Mr. Mayor, and I ask for the support of my colleagues to give you the right to organize a task force, business leaders, to help, for the sake of our downtown, get it going in the right direction. So I look forward to my colleagues' input. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Council Belanger. Discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next motion of the night by Councilor Mercier. Request city manager have proper department provide a report as to the current status and future proposed plans for Mill Number 5 building on Jackson Street located in the Hamilton Canal District. Seconded by Councilor Samaras. Councilor Mercier?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know that there's a person willing to speak on this motion, and I welcome that as well. Not to say that we're not facing problems, and this person would like to speak. He registered to speak.
Mr. Clerk?
Randy Mateo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Council. It's Randy Matthew, 240 Jackson Street. I got to say, it was really exciting to hear Mr. Lopoli and Mr. Power talk about their plans and doing things right, and that was really exciting. I live at 240 Jackson Street, and Mill 5 is an establishment at 250 Jackson Street, which is under development. It's been under development, I think, for over a year now, and many of the neighbors in 240 Jackson Street are actually still wondering about, what is going on there, what the plans are for the future of it as it continues to be developed, and things, especially in terms of its use, what new developments are happening, the accessibility to it, and the security issues with it. A lot of that isn't clear to a lot of the neighbors. There was a Boston Globe article from last April, and it described it as at heart an office building for small businesses and technology startups with a theater, yoga studio, restaurant, lounge, retail stores, and latest inspirations being a beer garden, farmer's market, workshop space. Around Christmas time, I attended a Christmas festival and an art fair at the building, and I saw quite a few of the artists and local businesses had set up in there in the halls. And I've seen a few retail stores beginning to establish themselves with some minimal hours, and then the first big concern that came up, I had to ask, is it a new concert venue? Will there be crowds of people coming to see shows here? And how does that fit with it being an office building with tech startups at heart? And I ask that because in January, they suddenly started having rock concerts. First on a Sunday night at Sunday night the 12th at 10:30 p.m. Very loud music was played no more than 30 feet from the residences at 240 Jackson Street. So the police came and had them move it away. And you might think that after that they would consider this an issue. But no, it happened again, actually, on January 24th with the same place and the same volume and the same remedy. Upon looking into that issue, into this new activity, I mean, I didn't realize this was going to be a rock concert place. I found out that the events were advertised, $3 admission, and there were like 4 bands each. And I checked with the License Commission, and they had said there was no public amusement licenses for that. I also checked at the building department as well, and I was asking the building inspector about it, and he said it wouldn't meet the building code for such use. I think it was A2, he had said. And at the subsequent license meeting, it was also noted that the inspector hadn't even determined an occupancy level for that space. So that was the first kind of question of what is happening here. And then I said, and then the next thing was, that I wonder is what other new developments are happening. There was a mention of installing a glass and pottery kilns in the building, which to me seems like a pretty big fire hazard considering the amount of dry wood in that building. And it's connected to 240 Jackson Street, so that's a kind of concern being in a butter of that. And when I spoke with the building inspector, he suggested, no chance of that because the required fire protection equipment would be too much, but I'm actually still wondering about that, if those are plans. Also, suddenly there was, special permit requests sent out to all the abutters that there was a special permit request by the building owner for multiple massage establishments on multiple floors. That was yesterday. The permit was granted over opposition, and so now there's no more public oversight on massage establishments in that building. And so I'm wondering again, what other things are being considered for this building that maybe the abutters should be aware of and communicated with that maybe there's some concern about. And the last issues are accessibility and security. So far, accessibility to the Mill 5 is pretty limited. They have a door that opens to a 4-story staircase. And when that's not open, the patrons often sneak in into the security door of 240 Jackson Street behind residents trying to get into Mill 5. Mill 5 has a key-operated elevator that's in the shared lobby with 240 Jackson Street, but it's not really used for patrons. It's used for their tenants. So there's a new freight elevator being installed in the back of there's a breezeway underpass between the 240 and 250. But it's behind the huge locked iron gates. And all the residents walk past their elevator work kind of every day to throw our trash away in the back of the building. And to date, after several requests in the building department and a complaint, I've been unable to get the building permit or the plans for that elevator work. So that's kind of a question I have about what's going on. And then when that elevator is complete, the big question becomes what will happen to the safety and security of that breezeway and underpass if this is their main elevator entrance. If the gates are left open, then it becomes a perfect shelter and hangout for the homeless people in the neighborhood. Of course, the little transitional living center is on the other side of the building, so that's a serious concern because we take our trash out through here. There's a lot of women in the building that this could be a serious issue. And, you know, will there be a clash of the residents trying to go to the trash can and maybe large numbers of people waiting for the elevator hanging out in that breezeway? So I think I wanted to come to express those issues today because there's a lot of neighbors to this Mill 5 establishment that really don't know, you know, what the plans are. So I appreciate the time. I spoke with Mr. Belanger, and I'll give him this one copy that I have of my notes.
Very good. Thank you very much. On the motion?
Yes.
Councilor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sometimes we stumble onto things by accident. Probably was not an accident, but I did receive a call from Randy and his wife. They had concerns with the building, and it was rather troubling to know that they had rock bands there and they had different concerns, but I didn't know the answer. But I did call the person, Mr. Lachulis, who informed me of all the different answers that this gentleman was looking for. And I did speak to Mr. Lachulis, and I did get a tour today of the building, and I said, one thing that troubles me is when, whether it be the city or whether it be private developers, take it upon themselves to improve something or have plans, and they don't share it with the abutters, and they leave people in the dark as to what's happening. And that seemed to have been the case, and he did understand that he should have been more open. And as a matter of fact, tomorrow evening at the JAMBRA, the Jackson Appleton Middlesex Business Residential Neighborhood Group, is having Mr. Lachulis and the plans at their 5:30 meeting, which will be held at the health center there on Jackson Street. The public is welcome. Many times Karen Bell, who is the chair of that JAMBRA organization, has put notices in 240 Jackson Street area to alert the tenants of the meetings that had taken place, and if anyone has problems, they don't show up. You could only do so much, but I just wanted to say that I just, when I tried to get to the bottom of an issue, it seemed that was heading in the wrong direction, which was namely Mill Building number 5. Instead, I want to share with you that I uncovered a hidden treasure. That's not to say that there weren't problems, but I did have a tour along with Corey Belanger and we did tour the building, and we discovered the best well-kept secret that could be incubating in an old mill building. The motion asks the manager to provide a report as to the current status and future proposed plans for Mill Building number 5 on Jackson Street. An old, neglected mill building is little by little transforming into an eclectic, state-of-the-art, awe-inspiring establishment. I wouldn't have known that if I didn't talk to Randy and investigate, because I want you to know that there's always two sides to an issue. Not to say there wasn't problems, but I don't get the answer unless I go to the source, and I did. And Randy was right. There were rock bands in there 2 times, not realizing that the elevator shaft was adding like some sort of a speaker to just bang in next door and make it multiply that sound. They have since closed it all in the best that they can. Now, on the fourth floor is where the creativity begins. There is a record shop owned by a father and a son. Artists are there. There are vendors and crafters. There is a photography shop, retail shops, some with jewelry, some with plants, and that's just the beginning. There's a shop owned by a husband and a wife that makes chocolates. And while I was there, they had numerous chocolate squares, which reminded me of a dice with letters in pink spelled out the word love. There will be future plans as well. A cafe called From Farm to Table Cafe. People that set up shop there will not have to go out to eat and come back to work. They can go to the cafe right in place and get a coffee, a sandwich, or a meal. There are plans and people as we speak working to create a 64-seat theater on the far end of the building. How many times have we said, wouldn't it be nice if there were people in the downtown that could just walk to a theater? Well, that's going to happen. They're working on it now. I see numerous people working, jobs. That's what it's all about. So although we encounter problems, and I'm not going to downplay the fact that there were problems, it made me stumble onto a magnificent venture. All through the fourth floor, I couldn't help but think that this is a replica of an indoor mall. It is quaint, and each storefront has its own special facade, with one in particular having stained glass. In the main setting dining area, the room has many fireplace mantles, and I couldn't help but feel so comfortable in that setting. It was an experience I wanted to share with my colleagues and wish each vendor the very best. Those vendors are people who are taking part in a unique opportunity to experience what it's like to own a business of their own for a reasonable cost. They're offered a 30-day lease. This is unheard of. Who does that? So to sum it up, the building is being used. Construction is putting people to work. The tenants are getting a chance to own a business, and the public has another venue to get a great gift for a reasonable price. How can you go wrong with that? I'm not to say that there won't be problems in the future, but this is what this city is all about. You go over to the source and you tell them, I have a problem with this, and how come that, and why is this? And you talk it out, and then great things happen. I just wanted to share this fabulous experience with my colleagues, and I don't want to disrespect the people, the gentleman that came to speak. He had a legitimate concern. I tried to help, and I'm sure he'll get help as well. He's being offered to take a tour just like Corey Belanger did, just like I did. We had a tour. But I wanted to tell my colleagues that on March 1st, from noon until 7, a paper-themed marketplace of books, comics, cards, photos, prints, and other artisanal paper goods will be on display for sale on that day. The public is invited, and I guarantee you will be delighted just as I was. So I look for that being, as we heard two great stories, there's another one brewing there. I know that these tenants are investors, they're stockholders, they're stakeholders, they live right next door, but I might have to cross the city to go there. They can go right next door and see some great things. They're living in a wonderful place. So although there's problems, there's answers, and I want people to know that. So this motion is to just let people know that if you just took a tour up there and saw each individual spot where people can own a business. So I'm just very much in awe about it. Thank you for letting me make this motion.
Council Belanger, then Council Milanazo, and then Mr. Manager.
Okay. Through you, Mr. Mayor. I commend the motion by Councilor Mercia. We unraveled a gem here in the city. And it stems from the same reasons why Councilor Mercia gave attention to it, where I received phone calls from abutters And just simply from being downtown, there was a bit of a mystique, if you will, going on about the building, rumblings and some rhetoric to some point as to what's going on in there. I'm like, and I didn't have answers for them. So as Councilor Mercia stated, we go right to the source, we get answers. So we did organize a tour of the building, and what I saw was phenomenal. I couldn't believe it. But nonetheless, there's growing pains, you know, in the past and current as we speak. Okay, they currently share elevator space to get up to mill number 5, so there's head knocking, if you will, going on there. And there's construction going on with the main elevator. That's going to be, they're not going to be sharing an elevator in the coming weeks. When the new elevator is complete, I understand around March 1st, in the mill number 5, customers and workers and shop owners will be using that elevator. So there'll be a separate entrance in the coming weeks, which I think will be good news. There'll be better lighting. That currently, that little breezeway is very, very dark and caged, and it's going to be well lit and secure in the back area coming from the Middlesex Street side. So I think some safety concerns are going to be answered there as well. But it's ongoing. It's a construction process, so there are bumps in the road. You know, during this time, I had questions, as Councilor Mercy did, about noise and bands, and he fully admitted that, you know, a couple given nights he rented it out to UMass Lowell students, and they had a concert directly on the opposite side of the wall where Randy resides, literally 3 feet on the other side of the wall, and the elevator shaft that they're constructing acted as an echo chamber. And he admitted that, you know, he'd made, Mr. Lachulis, the landlord, admitted to, you know, that was probably a mistake letting the students band practice there. And so I says, well, what about the other side of the building? I mean, why not put entertainment where you have a butters here? Let's move it to the other end. So as we walk down there, as Councilor Mercy stated, a new mini theater concert hall is in construction for approximately a little under 100 people. That was cathedral ceilings. I mean, it was gorgeous. It's going to be a gem. No two ways about it. So I think bringing those concerns, and Mr. Lachulis assured me there will be no more noise issues from this point on about the abutters complaining about noises. He assures me they will be corrected as of this instant. There will be no more entertainment abutting 240 Jackson Street, the cotton mill lofts. There also is people alluding to not permits. They are working. I've contacted the building department. They are working with permits in there. There's inspectors going in and out of there on a daily basis. They do have a permit for the elevator. It's a state permit. He emailed me a copy of that today. So I assure you that Mr. Lachulis is going through all the proper channels there. But, you know, I did fault him for one thing, that, you know, a project of this magnitude, although there's a lot of good going on here, some of your butters are out in the cold, and that's not acceptable. He did agree. He agreed with me, and although he did have last night's ZBA hearing for the massage therapy, did have supporters and letters from in that building, but there were as many who were out in the cold and didn't know what was going on. So I, along with Councilor Mercia, said to Mr. Lachulis that we should organize a meeting for all residents of 240 Jackson and Mill Number 5 representatives to get together, iron out these issues. So Mr. Lachulis thought it was a great idea. When that elevator is complete, sometime in early March, we're going to send myself, Councilor Mercy, and any of my colleagues, anybody else would love to attend, we'd love to have you. I'm going to organize a meeting with the residents and Mill Number 5 representatives to iron out these issues that exist, because I assure you that there will be harmony there in the coming weeks when we get all sides together and iron these issues out. But there's, like any good project, there's growing pains. But again, I want to reiterate to my colleagues that I could not believe what was going on there. It's incubator space, small businesses growing, and I was blown away by it, quite frankly. So it's a lot of good going on there. I urge my colleagues to get there and take a visit. And again, in the coming weeks, there will be some harmony at that address, I can assure you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Milanazzo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I plan to support the motion. I think it's good to get information about the development of Mill Number 5. I do want to say, though, and I respect the speaker being here this evening with us and coming to the podium and talking about his concerns, and it certainly sounds like there are legitimate concerns that by working with through the city and working with the building owner, they'll be rectified. And as Councilor Belanger said, it sounds like they're moving in that direction now. But I do want to just pick up on one point that the speaker said, that he implied, and I apologize if I didn't hear it correctly, but he implied that the special permit was given last night despite opposition. And I just want to say that I watched that meeting last night in its entirety, and yes, there was some opposition, but there was also 30 residents that actually signed a petition in favor. People spoke in favor. I thought the Zoning Board of Appeals did a very good job, a thoughtful job, listening to the concerns, asking the right questions, and it actually got approved on a 5-0 vote. So to stand at the microphone and speak to the public and say that it was voted last night despite opposition, there was some opposition, but there was more support than there was opposition. So I just wanted to make that point. And I also wanted to say that the massage therapy is a very highly regulated use. So again, for the speaker to say that this was approved last night and now there's going to be no public oversight, that's simply not true. Our Board of Health will be involved. There'll be other licenses that will have to take place. So again, respecting the position he's coming from, he's a neighbor, he's had problems, he brought it to the city council, we want to help him, but at the same time, we need to make sure that the full story, if you will, gets portrayed to the public. So I just want to say the zoning board did a good job, and the Board of Health will now pick it up from here and make sure that that approved massage therapy is regulated. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Mr. Manager.
I think, Mr. Mayor, I think everyone's really spoken on this probably enough. But other than say that, I think Councilor Mercia gave a great description. This is one of the more exciting projects happening in the city, and it's been sort of being underground there. And I think that's part of the strategy that they had of building this out and doing it in a step-by-step basis. But it really, the creativity, the innovation, and really a whole group of new entrepreneurs in the city are really building something down there. Mr. Lachulis, it's been his vision, and I think it is going to be a real addition to the city, and certainly one that you pretty much gave the report. So if you could just give me your notes on that, I will just put them on my letterhead. But no, it was there's a great project moving forward, and we'll certainly work with the neighbors to make sure that everything is properly vetted through the process. Thank you.
Thank you.
All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. And the opposed? Motion carries. Next item by Council Mercia. Request City Manager have Property Department explore the possibilities of establishing a portion of McDermott Reservoir on Beacon Street as a site for a portion of a community garden for the Friends of the Reservoir. Seconded by Councilor Samaras. Council Mercia?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If you look in our plans, we have a master plan, and it's a 5-year master plan. And in the plan, there's a segment that talks about different things. When we talk about sustainable Lowell and the partnership with local organizations to promote and educate healthy living practices, they talk about support the development of an urban food production plan in Lowell and implement it as an appropriate community garden, allow and encourage urban farms within Lowell. This motion gives us that chance. A communal space for gardens, McDermott Reservoir on Beacon Street. It's a passive park that would allow that to happen under the leadership of the Friends of the Res. And so I'd like to refer this motion to the Parks and Recreation Subcommittee to discuss it a bit further.
Motion to refer this item to the Parks and Rec Subcommittee by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Leahy. Discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed? Motion carries. Next item by Councilor Mercia. Request City Manager have Property Department inspect glass and windows in all downtown buildings for safety. Seconded by Councilor Kennedy. Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know this sounds like a bizarre happening because I never heard about this before. But on Friday, February 7th, our City Manager, Bernie Lynch, Mayor Rodney Elliott, Councilor Belanger, and myself we attended an event sponsored by Roger and Sobine, the owners of the Khmer Post USA Press Club, and it was held at the Theater Khmer on Chelmsford Street. And at that time, we were listening to the people that were concerned with the different issues in the city, and a gentleman come up there, so that I'm not just fantasizing about this. They were there and heard this as well. And he said that he lived in Tewksbury, but he worked in Lowell, and he loved the city of Lowell. But when he came out one day to go to lunch, some glass came from the fourth-story building and smashed right near him, and it frightened him. I don't know why we never heard, it wasn't reported in the paper. We didn't hear anything about it, but he said that this happened on 2 occasions. Do you remember that, Mr. Manager?
I actually think I left before that. I had another meeting I had to get back to.
No.
But I'm sure you're...
Mr. Mayor, did you hear him say that?
I did.
Okay, good. It's not just me. Councilor Belanger, you heard that as well, right?
I did. Merrimack Street, to be exact, Councilor.
Merrimack Street.
Yep.
And I thought to myself, it kind of makes sense. The buildings are rather old, and probably the putty around the windows let go and it must have fell out. I don't know exactly what happened. I asked him, where did this happen? What building was it? And he was not sure what building it was, but it was downtown somewhere. But the thing that got me is it happened twice, he said. Not just once, it happened twice. And I know that this motion is rather tedious, it's a tedious task to send an inspector to go through every single building down there to check every single window. Perhaps we could send a letter, have the departmental services send a letter to each owner downtown to check, to be responsible to check their own building and check the windows and the glass and see if it's functioning properly, and get that letter back to us that they had done that. We need some sort of I'm very concerned about that. We hear about a TV in Gardner that fell on a child and killed the child. It was my grandson's classmate. It was his friend, and he died because this TV fell. It was not stable. I don't want to hear that someone get killed because a piece of glass come out of the window. We have to do something. I know we hear about gang violence and this, and we try to do whatever we can to create public safety. To me, that's a public safety issue when glass is falling out of a building. I'm not understanding this, but I hear a gentleman say that, and I got to take his word for it. It bothered him enough to be at this meeting, to come to the microphone and say that in front of all of us that attended. And I think maybe we could do that. Send a letter, have the departmental services send a letter to every owner of the building and check and verify that they did that somehow, and send us a letter back. We need to have a response from them that it was up to code and up to par and something like that. But we need to check it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Marcia. Councilor Martin?
I mean, why don't we check that building? He was in front of a building, glass fell out twice. Can he tell us which building it was, if it startled him so much?
I know, I asked him. He said he didn't remember what building, but it was downtown.
Mr. Manager?
Typically, when things like that do happen, we do get reports that come into inspectional services, so they go right out to see what an issue might be. And I'm not aware of any reports. I can check with the building department on that issue.
I know we heard it, the three of us.
I can actually speak to you're talking about glass falling out of a building? There was actually...
Right, sir,
sorry.
If you want to speak, we'll just suspend the
I'll
rules.
suspend the rules to
Councilor
allow
Mercia.
Randy to speak on this.
Suspend the rules by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor
Okay,
Rourke.
yeah.
All those in favor,
This is
signify-
actually a coincidence, but walking on Jackson Street, the glass in the building across from the garage, I think the Wind Company bought it recently.
Okay.
Glass fell out of that right on the sidewalk. Big chunk of it. I think it's abandoned, right?
Right now.
The glass fell out of that building. just a few days ago.
Okay.
So that's one to look at. For sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Gee, I'm glad you stayed. But it is an issue. It's an issue. I'm sorry the man didn't tell us which building it was, but
Yeah.
Okay. Councilor Martin, you all set?
Yeah.
Mr. Manager?
Well, I think the issue is, and we can certainly, I think the best thing to do might be really to perhaps send out some type of correspondence to property owners or whatever, letting people know that they should check their windows or something. It's tough. I mean, there are literally thousands and thousands of windows just in downtown Lowell, and really the problem extends out beyond that. I mean, you can look at any number of buildings throughout the city, and it is an isolated case. And for the most part, I would think that the issue is going to be on the outside of the window that isn't going to be easily inspected for people to see. But perhaps we can we'll look at finding a way to notify people that they should be inspecting that just to make sure.
thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye, and the opposed, motion carries. Councilor Leahy, could you take the chair, please?
I think so.
Next motion from Mayor Elliott. Request City Council to discuss ordinance pertaining to accumulated annual vacation and sick leave policy and refer this matter to the Personnel Subcommittee. Seconded by Councilor Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I know it's getting late, and I will be brief, but the purpose of bringing this motion forward is to take a look at the personnel or the ordinances relative to personnel and vacation time in the city, as well as sick time. So this came to my attention when I was going through the hiring process and realized, after speaking with the Human Resources Director, that annual leave, vacation leave is applied, or it's allocated as of January 1st. It's awarded in lump sum. So moving forward and knowing we've had a number of resignations as well as retirees, people retiring, that's becoming a big cost to the taxpayer. Because what happens, and I don't think it's by any consequence, and it's employees that decide to retire or resign after January 1st, they get all their vacation time. And that's okay if they remain employees of the city. It becomes a problem, a financial problem, a big financial problem in my opinion, when employees retire after January 1st. And it's allowed under the ordinance, but it's a big payout to the city. Both, buyback sick we know is a big payout, but also vacation time. So I think I filed this motion, and I think it's important for us to take a look at. And I think there's a simple solution to it. And employees can continue to get their full allotment, but in some cases, it's 5 weeks, and it's 4 weeks that employees are entitled to, and then the city makes payouts in lump sum checks. So it's something that we have to look at moving forward. And to do that, it could be a simple, when an employee decides to retire or resign, they get, it's prorated up to the time that they resign or retire. That way, there's not this big lump sum check with, in addition, there's usually weeks of carryover, and it's going to be a big payout. And it's a financial hit to the city, and that's why I brought it forward, because we need to take a look at it and make an adjustment. So we're not, going to get hit with these big lump sum payouts when people decide to retire, to stay through January and then, decide to resign and retire. And we've seen a number of those, and it's going to be a hit moving forward. So that's why I brought it forward. I think it's important for the Personnel Subcommittee to look at it and come back with a report and recommendation on, and I do think it's, I do think it's as simple as I mentioned, just prorating if at that particular year when employees do decide to retire or resign. So that's the motion, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Chair.
Thank you. Councilor Kennedy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just briefly, I think it's a good motion. I intend to support it. I think that, I think the idea that people pick up the I think it's the ordinance that needs to be corrected. I think it's almost human nature that if you are going to get a big bundle of vacation after January 1st, that you're going to wait till after January 1st. Anybody that left before that time would be ill-advised to do so, I think. And so it's the ordinance that has to be corrected. But I also think that, and I understand this matter is, the motion reads that this matter will be referred to the Personnel Subcommittee. I think it would be probably good to see, to take a look at the collective bargaining unions and what impact it would have on those contracts, and whether or not there can be, what we would have to do to provide a remedy to those collective bargaining agreements as they exist now, which I suspect is probably a larger share than the non-union personnel. Maybe not in individual money, but I think collectively it probably is a bigger chunk. I'm not sure.
Thank you. Anybody else on the motion? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? Ayes have it. Second motion by Mayor Elliott. Request the city auditor provide a report on the costs of accumulated annual vacation and sick leave for employees who have resigned or have retired since January 1st, 2014. Seconded by Councilor Mercia. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. This is just a follow-up. I would like to see what the costs are associated, because that will show us exactly what the impact is be. So this is just a follow-up to get a report on exactly what that's going to be. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It might be worthwhile to get what the cost was for a couple of years going back. I mean, this situation that we have right now is somewhat unique in that there are several employees that are high profile or higher paid employees all leaving at the same time. But it would be good to see just how much of a problem this is and just how many people take advantage of this over multiple years rather than just this year. So if there's no objection from the maker of the motion, if it could be changed to include 2 or 3 years, I think it probably would be more beneficial. And I'm assuming that this motion is designed to provide guidance on the previous motion.
No objection at all.
Okay, so we'll just add that to the motion to cover the last 2 years? Okay, thank you. Any other further discussion? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? Mayor.
I know we're about to go into executive session, but I did want to ask for suspension of the rules, and I just handed out my colleagues just a letter that we received. The manager received it as well. In fact, this didn't even come to my office. This was in the mail slot or the cubby downstairs and in the auditor's office. So I didn't have a chance to file a motion on Friday. I've not spoken to the superintendent. I wanted to bring it to the attention of the members of the council, as well as to ask the manager. This is regarding the net school spending, Mr. Manager.
Motion to suspend the rules to allow this to come in.
Sure. Motion by Councilor Mercia, second by Councilor Samaras. Mayor.
Thank you. I did make a copy, and again, it didn't come to my. I was CC'd on it. But it didn't come in an envelope. It was open downstairs. Nevertheless, I thought it was important to notify my colleagues, as well as, the manager was CC'd on it, but I just wanted to ask the manager, this letter indicates that we did not meet our school spending requirement, and I was under the assumption, or actually expectation, that we have, yet we're down. Can you explain what this is? It's a $3.8 million deficit below the required amount. Can you explain this?
Yeah, I will try. This is a letter that we generally get. There's a lag in when we get this letter. It always comes out in the February, March timeframe. And as you know, from fiscal years, so from 1993 up until 2008, I believe, the city never achieved its minimum net school spending. We were very proud of the fact that we got the city for the first time ever to achieve its net minimum school spending under the ed reform law back then in 2008, thereabouts. And we were able to continue doing that. We're just now getting the results of that fiscal year that we did not hit it. It's a strange system that they have, because by the time they send you the letter, you're more than halfway through the next fiscal year. But that's just the accounting system that the state uses in calculating that. The issue that we've been kind of going over those numbers, the issue that we have in fiscal year 2013 was the first year of the new of the savings that we made in health insurance, and that had an impact on the contribution. That was a big chunk of where we spent money under the education costs, and when that went away, that had an impact then on, particularly for retired teachers, that had an impact upon what we were able to count as a contribution to the educational system. So that is an issue for the city. That was something I planned to address when I gave the council a report on the budget. It's going to be an issue because we have to make that up, and we have to start to look at fiscal year 2014. Now, that same letter indicates that 2014 they've preliminarily shown that that's going to be a problem in 2014. But they're showing the numbers that we've seen in their calculations show that they've kind of shown health insurance costs, I believe, dropping off by $1.5 million or thereabouts, and that's not happening. So we think the 2014 number will be wrong. The 13 number is what the 13 number is. But in 14, we think it's going to be closer. We will probably still have an issue this year. I am hopeful that I mentioned I was in Boston today at the State House testifying on behalf of the Local Government Advisory Committee that we want the charter school reimbursement. We lost $1.4 million last year because the state underfunded the charter school reimbursement. That's money that could go directly to the educational system. And we also want full funding for the charter schools for next year, that would go a long way towards helping us get back to meeting the net school spending. Again, this isn't unique here in the city. We've really been below it for 15 or 16 years. We achieved it for several years. We don't want to slip too far back on that. We're not alone with that. There are a number of communities that are in our position or worse, because if you drop below 5% below the net school spending, then you actually start to lose Chapter 70 money. So it means basically that we're going to have to put more money into the school budget.
Well, thank you. And I do understand the health insurance issue, but I also believe that we were meeting it and that we were exceeding it. And so when I saw this letter, I was really taken aback, and particularly with the number of 3.8 million rising to 4.6 next year. How much of that 3.8 is attributed to the health insurance issue?
I don't know that off the top of my head. I'd have to go back.
Right.
But I will say, Mr. Mayor, that again, in those years that we were ahead, that we met it, the first year we met it, we just barely got over it. Then we were several million ahead of it. Last year, I think we were, in the report that we got last year for fiscal year 2012, I want to say that it was roughly $60,000 that we missed it by, because I think I mentioned to the city council that if we had one more snowstorm, because we can count our snow activities that we spend on the schools. If we'd had one more snowstorm in fiscal year 12, we would have made the net school spending. But 13 is, again, health is a big part of it, but we're always sort of on the edge. And what it means, again, I'll go back to it, is that we need to put more money into the school budget. But again, over the last couple of years, we've really tried to hold the line on spending at the request of the city council by not going up on taxes. And this is what happens when we hold the line on taxes, therefore we hold the line on school budget, we hold the line on other spending, and this is a challenge we're going to have moving forward. But we'll get more information on that for you.
If possible, I mean, there's a school committee meeting next week, so if possible, I'd like to be I'd like to be able to. I can at least let them know that we've had a discussion on this. I didn't want to let it go a week.
Sure.
Let it go another week specifically for that purpose. So it would be helpful if I could get some information before next Wednesday.
We will. I will say that this is an area where it's a real loss not having Mr. Moses here or our CFO, but we will we'll get you what we can get you on that.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Milonazo, then Councilor Martin.
Thank you. Just as a point of clarification, FY13 actually ended in June 30th of last year. So this $3.8 million was almost now 7 or 8 months ago. So now they're suggesting in order for us to meet the requirement for FY14, where there's only 4 months left, it's an additional 4.6, almost $4.7 million. So it's a serious concern. I know it's within the 5%, but at the same time, they're telling us in this letter that we should do what we can in order to make it up in this fiscal year, which is FY14. So again, I'm not even suggesting what may happen in FY15, but this goes back to June 30th of last year.
Correct, and this is when the report comes out that shows us where the gap was. And again, we think the 4.6 number is way off, and that we will close that gap in by the time this is done. Okay. When we see the number, when this letter comes through next January, or February or March, I should say, you'll see that 4.6 should be a much, much smaller number.
Was this mentioned in Powers and Sullivan when they came in?
Oh, no, they would never, they don't look at this type of, they don't look at this type of thing.
Okay.
No,
I mean,
this is something.
I know we closed the books on FY13.
Yeah.
But it just seems like it should have been brought to someone's attention that we were at a $3.8 million underspending on the school side.
Nobody knows what you are underspending or overspending until February or March, when this letter comes out from the Department of Education. Okay. That's when the calculations are made, because then they go back and they look at everything, analyze everything, and that's when the letters come out.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilor Martin.
I might also add that one of the ways that the net school spending figure required of the municipality goes up is also related to the amount of state aid that comes in. So if more state aid comes in for education, that increases the amount that you have to spend locally on education. And because they're looking to leverage that you increase your amount of spending. So again, when you're trying to hold the line on taxes, that's a squeeze that takes place. And what happens there is that, and so we don't know. Last year, we actually thought we exceeded it, and we came in 60,000 below. The year before, we thought we just met it, and I believe we came in substantially above it, because it's what goes into the calculations that they have to look at.
Councilor Martin.
Yeah. Thank you. I know the Mayor's Association has had an issue with this for many years for the reason you just say. The state generally has been pretty generous increasing school aid, but holding municipal aid flat. So as the school aid goes up, the general municipal contribution has to go up, yet there's no corresponding increase in general municipal aid. And so, the mayors have an issue with their budgets and have had an issue with this whole process for some years, but it's the system we have. And I think I've asked this question before, Mike. So the year we were over, by $1 million. That, you don't get to count that. You don't get to deduct that the next year. That's just,
Right, if I may, that's a great point, and that's something that's a number, again, this was a discussion today, that at the Municipal Association, that it's just that, when you go over, that's great. You don't get to say, okay, now we should get a credit for the next year. No, that's encouraged, but it's not, you don't get any credit for it. There are communities around us that spend $2-3 million above net school spending, and we did that for a couple of years, I believe. But then when you're short, you not only have, the next year, you not only have to meet it, you have to catch up.
right. I mean, most of my time here, we've been in the 5% range.
Correct.
Right, okay.
Any further discussion? Councilor Kennedy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the city manager. Mr. Manager, you said that the FY13 number, just, I think your comment was, it is what it is. And so I guess that's an acceptable number to you, or at least.
Oh, no. I'm saying, as Councilor Milanazzo pointed out, it's done.
Right.
There's nothing we can do to touch 13 now.
Right.
There's very little we can do to touch 14, short of, well, there really isn't anything you can do to affect 14.
Right.
You know, so what we have to do is anticipate that we're going to have to dramatically increase school spending next year in 15 to catch up.
Right.
And it isn't just the direct spending, it's also the indirect spending that goes into it, and the calculations that are made internally to what should be counted towards school spending. There are certain categories that count towards school spending. So I'm not saying it's, look, from my perspective as city manager, I think that the city of Lowell should be spending probably more money on education. But it's difficult for me to spend more money, to come in with a budget to spending more money on education to address a particular public safety needs and public infrastructure needs and so on, when we're also trying to hold the line on taxes.
When you say that you think that the 4.6 million number is too high,
right?
What do you base that on? And when you say that you think it should be substantially low, what do you mean by that? Do you mean, I mean, you could say that 3.8 is substantially lower than 4.6.
What I'm saying is that the calculations, and I haven't really looked at the numbers fully yet, but one of the categories that they look at is the drop-off or the increase in health insurance, the drop-off in health insurance costs, and I think that those are overstated. But we'll work to get a full analysis for the council.
How are we going to do that? How are we going to do that if we don't have Mr. Moses? How is that going to?
That's a challenge for me that I'll have to work on.
Okay. Can you do that? I mean, seriously, can you do that?
It's not the thing I typically do. I would typically have Mr. Moses do that. But I will work with the auditor and work with some other, sure.
Jay Lang actually
Mr. Lang.
fills out the report
Right.
on an annual basis, so Jay Lang will be able to do the analysis.
So we'll be depending on Jay Lang.
Correct.
Correct.
He's the one who does the report that goes into the state.
Right. But you're thinking that
We
the number is
feed
wrong.
information to him. We feed information to him.
Yeah.
But I think that again, and I will admit to this, I discussed this with Mr. Moses just about a week ago when we saw that letter. And, we're going to talk some more about it to get a feel for that number. But that was one of the observations that he made.
Well, I guess if it's fine that Mr. Lang is the one that actually files a report, but if Mr. Lang filed this report and we're getting back this letter saying that it's 4.6, then what's the basis for saying that you think the number's too high? Is it just because
We're questioning some of the numbers that we're seeing there. But we haven't done a full analysis on it yet.
Okay. So we'll get a report back on this?
We'll work to get a report back on that. Yep.
Okay.
But I do think that, to the mayor's question as to whether the school committee, being able to talk to the school committee about this, I think that Mr. Lang is certainly well versed in this area as well.
Sounds good.
Sure. Would you like to take chair? Are you all set?
Mr. Vice Chair, just quickly, if I could,
sorry.
just one
Yep.
follow-up question, if I
Councilor
could.
Milanazzo, yep.
Thank you. when we converted over to the group insurance, working with the Group Insurance Commission, I believe it was an initial 3-year contract.
We're a 3-year agreement with our unions, but the contract with the GIC, yes, the contract with the GIC is for 3 years as well.
Okay.
Yes.
And does that end this June 30th?
I believe it ends the following June 30th.
The following June 30th, okay. Okay, the following June 30th, okay.
But again, that's, the issue here is that
I
it's
bring it
not-
up because you had indicated that the $1.5 million savings was really not that number. It may have been a lower number in your estimation.
Of
from
what
the-
we, that, right.
Save
there's
on
some-
the insurance.
Right,
So-
we need to look at those numbers. But I do think that, I mean, going to the GIC, making the changes we made, saved the city money. The issue was that we could have put more of that into, from the Department of Education standpoint, more of that money should have gone into direct education.
Okay, okay.
Instead of not raising taxes.
Right, but not to belabor the point, some communities that went in a year before us are now getting out because they haven't realized the savings that they thought they were going to realize, and they're actually moving away from I think Saugus is one. You probably know through MMA that
Yeah,
some of these communities now are going back to Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Blue Cross Blue Shield is offering some attractive rates now that they weren't offering then. I'm not advocating that we stay in the GIC. I'm not advocating that we get out of the GIC. We need to see what's going to happen with the rates. But I will tell you that we saved a substantial sum of money by going to the GIC that far exceeded what we would have had if we'd stayed with Blue Cross. The best that Blue Cross could do was nowhere near what we were able to get with the GIC. And the rates last year barely moved with the GIC. And we don't have rates yet for next year, but I'm expecting that they won't raise quite a bit again. So that means that we're saving somewhere in the vicinity at this point, 3 years in, we're probably saving somewhere in the vicinity of $12, $13 million over that period of time. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of money that we're saving. And overall, the state, municipalities statewide have saved, I believe, in excess of $200 million by going to, not necessarily going to the GIC, but going to making the health insurance changes that were made possible by that change in law. And Lowell is one of the big ones.
Right, we went past the 10 o'clock, Rule 5. There are 2 items left in executive session.
We could hold on those, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Kennedy? Motion to accept the... I think it was just, we will get a report from the manager, so if there's no objection, all those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed, motion carries.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Kennedy, second by Councilor Martin to delay both executive session items till the following week.
Yes, thank God.
8 yeas and 1 thank God. Roll call. Is it roll call? Okay. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye, and the opposed, motion carries. Motion to adjourn by Councilor Martin, second by Councilor Mercia. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed, meeting is adjourned.